Tonight's the night. And it's going to happen again and again.
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
I have felt it.
It is unavoidable. It is your destiny.
Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on a makeup show of MAGGCAST. Let's get it on, baby. Let's go. Hey, how's everybody doing out there? All right, we're ready to rock, ladies and gentlemen. It is MAGGCAST tonight. And, man, I got to tell you, I don't even know how long I'm going to be able to go tonight, okay? I am in an extraordinary amount of pain after yesterday. My goodness. Let me tell you about the harrowing situation. By the way, welcome everybody to the chat. And then, of course, we'll get right into the topics and we'll talk about stuff and things. So last night I went to go see, if anybody doesn't know who they are, Angine de Poitrine. It's a French band from Montreal, Quebec. And they're, I mean, if you've seen them on Instagram, they're like trending all over the world at one point or whatever else, right? And they wear like these insane like alien outfits, and they wear like polka dot, and their whole bodies are painted in polka dots and stuff. And it's just the two of them, man. It's just a guy and a guitar with it's like a double neck guitar, bass guitar, and a regular guitar. And then a drummer. That's it, just the two of them. And when they talk up there, and they don't talk, you never see their faces. Nobody knows who the hell these guys are. And when they talk, they have this weird like alien language where they're like, it's really, really effing weird, man. But my God, their tunes are banging. So if you want to know who these guys are, go check them out. Just type in Angine, and it'll show up. And it says de Poitrine. It's a French name. But Angine, A-N-G-I-N-E, right? And then after that was Jack White of the White Stripes. You know what I'm saying? It was, anyway, the show was awesome. However, everything around the show sucked. What normally is a 1-hour train ride into the city, because what happened is the extreme temperatures up here in Canada, it's so effing hot that the trains can't go above a certain speed, because what happens is the wheels create friction on the tracks and causes forest fires, which ironically enough, we already had forest fires, right? But anyways, that happened today. I'm sure a lot of my friends in the US are starting to notice it right now as all the smoke is coming down towards you guys, and everything looks like Dune outside. Like, I mean, it's crazy, man. You got to say, if you're not from up here or you're not like anywhere in the neighboring states, like it's some crazy shit, man. It's wild. So anyways, so this train is like crawling along, whatever. Then we had to get off at Union Station in the middle of the city. Then they have to wait for another train because that train had to go out of service because of the heat, and all the trains were overheating. It took us 2.5 hours to get to the show. I almost missed Angine de Poitrine. I was super friggin' pissed. Drenched in sweat from head to toe. It was friggin' awful. And I'm just pissed off. I am dehydrated, furious, and just like stressed out, right? Like my hands were like this, like by the time I got into the damn stadium, right? And then finally I get myself a water and a beer. I swear to God, I took the water and I dumped the whole thing on my head because I was just like drenched in sweat. It was disgusting. And it was an outdoor concert, right? Anyways, whatever. We end the show ends, whatever. We get out and all that kind of jazz, whatever. We go back over to the trains. It took us another 3 friggin' hours to get home because of all the delays in the train.
Yeah!
3 hours. I left at 11:15 and got home at 2:30 in the morning. Again, stressed out, dehydrated, even though I kept drinking water, but it wasn't enough. And just like drenched in sweat, shaking, heart rate is going like 150 beats a minute. Man, I was pissed. What a miserable experience. But the concert itself was unbelievable, man. And anyways, the reason why I'm in so much pain is my back, because when you're standing on those like the grass seats, whatever, it's at the RBC Amphitheater, which used to be the Budweiser Amphitheater in the city. The grass seats up there, it's on an angle, right? So you're standing on this angle, and it puts a ton of strain on your legs and your back and whatever else. So by the end of it, I couldn't move. Like my whole back was completely like locked. I was basically bedridden until 2:00 in the afternoon today. I couldn't move. Yeah, it was horrible. Anyways, even though I may not show it, I am in an insurmountable amount of pain right now. But anyways, that was my experience. And, you know, it's funny, when I was thinking about it after the fact, I was like, you know what, man? I should have just stayed the fuck home and done MAGGCAST. I swear. I should have just stayed home and done MAGGCAST. It would have been so much better. I could have had some drinks with you guys, had a good time. We could have had a couple laughs. But no, I have to have the most miserable fucking experience of my entire life to go to a concert. I spent 3 hours at the concert and 6 hours on backed up public transit.
Yeah!
You know? Unbelievable. Anyways, we're not here to talk about that. Oh, that sounds refreshing. So anyways, so then the funny thing is now I wake up and now you can't see anything outside. It was almost pitch black the whole day because there is a massive forest fires happening north of me in Ontario, and it's so bad that apparently it's gone. The smoke has gone all the way to Wisconsin in the United States and like Pennsylvania. And they're getting blacked out. Well, sort of blacked out. So if you want to know what an apocalypse, like what a post-nuclear blackout would look like, that's exactly what it looks like. That's exactly what it looks like. So you look outside, or you go, just even if you want, go to Google and type in Toronto smoke alert or some shit, and look at the images on Google. It literally looks like a cross between Dune, Mad Max, and like, you know, After Judgment Day from like Terminator 2. Oh man, it's wild. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that. So yeah, it's been a harrowing 24 hours, folks. But we're here to talk about video games. Yeah, 6 hours. 6 hours, atheist. 6 hours. What's up, Ambidextrous? How you doing, man? Yeah, he goes, it looks like Mad Max out here. Yeah, Ambidextrous lives like 10 minutes away from me, so he knows. Yeah, nuclear winter. It basically looks like a nuclear winter. Like, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was literally dark outside. Like, the street lamps were on. Because of, like, the sun was completely blocked out. It was by smoke. It was unbelievable, man. Yeah, it's wild. But anyhow, let's talk about some video games, folks. I hope everybody's well in the chat. Y'all seem well. We have 66 beautiful people coming to check out the show tonight. Now, normally, if anybody's new out there, don't be shy. Hit that like and subscribe. Help me out, man. Let's get me towards that 5,000 subscriber goal. That's the next goal that we're working on. And on top of all that, normally we're on Tuesday nights, 8:30. However, I'm doing the makeup show tonight because I was in the city having the most miserable friggin' experience of my life with public transit and dehydration and everything else. Now, let's talk about video games. First thing I want to talk about tonight, folks, I want to talk about this PlayStation situation, which seems to be continuing on. It doesn't seem to let go, right? And now what we're hearing, and I know it's been going over the last... What's up, Drew? How you doing, man? And now we've got like countries in the Europe. I was about to say the UK. Countries in Europe are now talking about suing PlayStation upwards of 460 million euro, 500 million euro, whatever, and all this other jazz about this entire situation when it comes to the digital-only future that they plan on launching in January 2028. Now, the funny thing is this, and it's not really funny, is that I don't know how much weight these things are going to hold. Yeah, they're not going to back away from digital, man. They made the decision. They've already cut ties with their, not cut ties, but they certainly didn't renew contracts for physical distribution and production of their products. It's not going to come back. However, they're going to be facing other hurdles. Now, the thing that doesn't make any sense to me was then the companies are like, well, because Sony is the dominant leader, whatever, it's going to be monopolistic, okay? Monopolistic in terms of their storefronts, and no one's going to be able to do anything else, because then they could price gouge, they could do this, they could do that. And I'm like, well, but would they, though? You know what I mean? Would they, though? Like, I mean, when you think about it, let's just say, for argument's sake, because I've seen some people argue about this, and I'm like, and I've heard these people say, they're like, oh, man, as soon as they go all digital, no one has a choice. They're going to raise the games to $90. I'm like, no, they're not. No, just stop, please. Please stop that. They won't do that because there's a limit to greed, folks. And even they know it. All these corporations know it. There's a limit to what they can get away with. And they damn well know if they raise their prices beyond that, beyond what it is already now, maybe they will be able to get away with it more in the future. We'll see. But they're not going to be able to just jack the prices and then not do sales. Because at the end of it, people are not really going to get mad. They just won't buy them. You see what I'm getting at? They won't buy the games. So what's the point? Like, you know what I mean? So like that argument kind of goes out the window. I mean, yes, technically they could do that, but they're not that stupid. Because if they did do that, they know that people... Exactly. Thank you, Infernal Earth. He goes, they would price themselves out. Exactly. People would be like, oh, no, hell with that. I'm not paying $90 for this game or whatever. And they'll wait for sales, or they just won't buy it at all. And then what ends up happening? Then they start suffering, right? So they won't do that. Now, at the end of it all, again, when these countries who are like, looking to sue them or whatever else, or, talking about these, talking about monopoly in the digital marketplace, and I'm like, they're not doing that now, and already they're the dominant marketplace on the console side. Let's just, let's be real here. Console side. I'm not talking about Steam, because Steam is their own, Steam is their own beast or whatever else. And then when you think about it, like, yes, there's competition there on the Steam side, where you got Steam, you got the Epic Store, you got GOG, whatever, and all that jazz. But here's the thing. Sony has competition. They've got Nintendo, and they've got Xbox. Correct? Correct. So in a very roundabout way, I almost feel that they're actually being insulting towards, for example, Xbox, the competition. Their direct competition, if you want to talk. Let's face it. Yeah, Nintendo's part of the equation, but at the same time, it's still Xbox and PlayStation. So now when you think about that, I'm like, that's kind of insulting in a very indirect way, saying that Sony has no competition. And I'm like, oh, I know it wasn't an intentional jab to Xbox, but it is kind of funny. I laughed about it when I read that. And I'm like, Xbox is a competitor, so there is no monopoly. There's two other open stores and other platforms that you can utilize in order to buy the majority of those same games, right? I mean, especially on the Xbox, more Xbox than Nintendo. But that's the thing that I'm trying to talk about here. Is that they do have competition. So when if this even made it to court, which I don't think it will, but let's just say for argument's sake it did, okay? Sony could literally just come out and be like, yeah, we do have competition. There's no monopoly. Xbox is right there, and Nintendo's right there. And then they could even be a smartass about it and be like, it's not my fault they suck. You know what I mean? It's like, but the competition is there, and it'll get thrown out. It'll get thrown out. That's the thing. It'll get thrown out because there literally is competition right in front of them. However, these countries, whether they mean it or not, and I'm pretty sure they don't mean it, but it is kind of funny to note that they're like, yeah, there's no competition. So I'm like, is that a shot at Xbox, or is they just saying that just because, like, they just figure that because Sony's the dominant platform? But the thing is, that's where the Sony lawyers can come back and say, just because we're the dominant platform doesn't mean there's no competition. That's bullshit. Like I said, there's two other storefronts you can compete with for that same product. Now, the one thing that you can get away with, though, that's a little different from PC, for example, and the consoles, is that across the three console platforms, you actually have to buy, the different, like, for example, if you buy PlayStation, you are locked to that platform. So they could use that as an angle. You see what I'm getting at? So that's one thing that actually the EU companies can actually countries can come back with and say, well, actually, if you buy a PlayStation, there is no actual competition in that respect. Right? This is where it gets a little bit muddy, because then PlayStation can be like, well, if you don't want what we're selling, then you can go buy an Xbox. That's the competition, essentially. But see, that the other thing is too, when you think about Xbox, let's say you buy an Xbox, well, then you're locked to the Xbox store too. And then when you buy a Nintendo, you're locked to the Nintendo store too. So where's the differentiation here? Hey, David Merrifield, how you doing? Mirko, Stick Flare, how you doing? Mavericks in the house. Captain Crunch. Magnum, I got something for my Australian friends out there. There you go. That's for you, Magnum. Sorry. And anyways, the point is that they could just run in circles with the same argument. Hey, Loops, how you doing? You see what I'm getting at? It's just running in circles. Because when they were like, well, when you buy a PlayStation, you're only locked to that store. Then they could literally turn around and say, well, when you buy an Xbox, you're locked to that store. When you buy a Nintendo, you're locked to that store. What the hell are you talking about? That's not an argument. A judge will throw that out. And as I discussed in my video that I dropped yesterday, folks, if you haven't checked it out, check it out, where I talk about this exact subject when I was talking about Sony and their lack of messaging. What they need to do, I think, to squash all of this, What's up, Little Evil? How you doing, man? Haven't seen you in the chat in a minute. Paris is in the house. How you doing, Paris? Ladies and gentlemen, Paris is in the house. So the thing is, what I talked about in my video yesterday is that a judge will throw that out. They'll be like, there's no grounds here. There are no grounds here. There's no legal grounds here because the other competition, which you say doesn't exist, A, does exist, and B, are doing the exact same thing. So in that respect, there's not much you could do. Now, they're also obviously going to be talking about the secondhand market and the physical market, right? Because the secondhand market is a situation where, for example, on Xbox, you're not locked to the digital store. I'm not lost on that. That was something I was going to address. Don't worry, folks, before everybody loses their mind. Green Pulse, how are you? So the thing is this. You could say, well, if Xbox charges $70 for this game, but in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, you can go to GameStop and buy the same game for $60 or $50 or whatever. Depends on the popularity of the game, right? But then Sony could turn around and say, well, actually, we do several sales every year. Like, you see what I'm getting at? Like, they could just dance around this bullshit all day long, and none of it'll stick. It'll be like the Teflon Don, ladies and gentlemen. It's like the Teflon Don, okay? It's like John Gotti. It's just not going to stick. Because they could just go in circles and circles. And they'd be like, well, yeah, we do digital, but we also do whatever. I'll just make up a number 5. We do 5 sales a year. And then games go on sale anywhere from 15% off to 30% off. Right now, I believe Dying Light the Beast is like 35% off. It's like $50 Canadian up here, right? It might be about 30 or 40 US dollars, right? So when you think about that, they're like, well, we do sales all the time, so they're actually we're offering a lot of incentives for people and whatever else with all these sales and all that jazz. Very similar to like what Steam does. Certainly not to the same level as like a Steam sale, for example. Dominic, how are you? But the thing is, what Sony needs to do, first and foremost, is they don't need to go to the levels of Xbox when it comes to their messaging. I don't need to know what Asha Sharma ate for breakfast. I don't need to know, that Aaron Greenberg has he's got a racquetball tournament at 10 a.m. in between meetings. I don't need to know all that shit. I don't need all the parasocial stuff either. Not Paris social stuff. I'll take Paris social stuff all day long because the man is a charmer, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, in all seriousness, I was being serious about that, though. You just need to be clear on the messaging. You see what I'm getting at? Sony needs to be clear on the messaging. Like I said, don't go to the levels of Xbox where you have to tell everybody every move you're making. Be clear about what you're doing. I know everybody's talked about this 1,000 times. I just wanted to sum up this whole situation because that's the kind of thing that Sony could bring up in court, for example, with this new with the new legal situations that may or may not arise from this. Is that they can bring that up and say, well, actually, we didn't tell anybody the game plan, but this is what we're doing. We're doing a disc to digital, like Xbox is doing. We're going to be doing. I don't know, we're changing licensing agreements so that people don't lose access to their games and blah, 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 and all this other shit, right? So, you know what I'm saying? What's up, brother? How are you? Hadouken! So, they could just say that. To say, listen, we're doing this. We're doing a disc to digital, very much like Xbox. We have multiple sales per year. We're offering an external hard drive on the PS6. You could buy it for an extra $100. I don't know, like whatever. Just tell people what you're doing. We're changing the refund policy. How about that? We're changing the refund policy. Now very much like Steam, the PlayStation Store will offer 2 hours of game time before you can refund the game because now you have no friggin' choice. Now you can only buy the game digital, and if you get stuck with a shit game or a game that comes out that's absolutely unplayable, whether that's the purchaser's problem or not, or them not researching or whatever, but at the end of the day, when someone puts a product out and you pay for it, you would expect a product that works, right? So for example, let's just say it doesn't, then Sony would have to do that. Now, if they did all that from the get-go when they announced this whole situation, I don't think they'd be getting these threats of being sued by like Finland and like whatever, all the other countries in Europe that are threatening to sue. Because then you've laid it out. Their silence has done them very well for decades. Let's face it, Sony's silence has done them very well. When Microsoft steps on rakes every 6 seconds, Sony doesn't say a damn word. Even if Sony's doing the same thing, they don't catch the same heat. And the reason why they don't catch the same heat, I know some people say Xbox tax. We'll get into that another time. Actually, I'm going to be doing a video about that. But Sony doesn't talk. They just shut their mouths. That's it. They don't say anything. They're like, okay, fine, let them do all the talking and bumbling through podcasts and whatever else and saying this, that, and the other. Let them do all that shit. We're not going to say nothing. We're doing the same thing, but we're not going to say anything. The other thing too, I was going to bring up, and what's up, Lotus Esprit? How are you? SJM's in the house. Streets here. Talos Ray. Neo's in the house. Neo, he is the one. Ben Angelo's here too. Deceiver, how are you guys? The other thing that they can say. I almost feel like I lost my train of thought there. I'm gonna kind of circle back to it when I try to remember what the hell I was gonna say. Oh, right, there's silence, right? Speaking of silence, that's what I was gonna get to. Speaking of silence, and this is something I pointed out in my video I dropped yesterday. Have you noticed that when Sony made this announcement about the digital thing or whatever else, that Microsoft, and you know how people online, like I saw it on Twitter, people are like, oh man, it'd be a really a big dunkable moment on Sony as if Microsoft did a video like, oh, this is how we share our games or whatever, like that kind of shit. And I'm like, do you know why they didn't do that? Do you know why EA is not pushing back? Do you know why Ubisoft is not pushing back on the Sony stand on the digital future? Do you know why Rockstar is not saying anything about the digital future? Do you know why Nintendo's not talking shit about it? Except for Domino's Pizza? Do you know why? I think you all know. Because they're doing it too. We talked about it the other day. They're doing it too. And so for once, I figure what they're doing, it's probably a pretty solid guess here, folks, is that all these companies are trying to get all their bad, trying to air out all their dirty laundry now before all the hot games start dropping real soon. Because then when all the hot games come out and everybody's talking about the gaming order, ain't nobody doing petitions anymore. Nobody gives a shit. It's going to be all gone. Everybody's going to be resubbed to their PS Plus. Get real. They already did it now. Look at that. People folded faster than a fucking lawn chair as soon as Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and 2 dropped. It crashed the Sony store, right? Wait till Modern Warfare 4 drops. All those people that said, I'm canceling PS Plus, they're going to be back on. When GTA Online 2, whatever they call it, they'll be back on, right? So I think that they know that. And then I think Xbox and Sony and Steam with their bullshit with the Steam machine and everything else, they're getting all this stuff out of the way now during the summer while people are either A, touching grass or touching ass or whatever they're doing. And then what ends up happening is by the time the fall comes and all these games start dropping like every 5 days, no one's going to remember. And just like they said in Gladiator, ladies and gentlemen, the crowd is fickle, brother. They will forget their woes. And that's exactly what it is. And they know that. Sup, Lunchi? How you doing, man? Beer Baron! No, but the thing is, Beer Baron? PlayStation chose to be the fall guy. He says the entire industry is stopping disc production. They chose PlayStation to be the fall guy. Well, PlayStation kind of, I think, went ahead and did it themselves. Everybody else is going to fall in line, though. I'll tell you that. And the thing is, it's not as nefarious as everybody thinks, by the way. I just like to point this out. It's not really for nefarious reasons. What's happening is the factories, the buildings, the warehouses, the production studios that do all this packaging, the disc pressing, the plastics, the molding, the wrappings, the shipping, a lot of them shut down, not just because of the game industry. They didn't have dedicated. Like for example, a lot of those places would do DVDs, Blu-rays, video games, CDs nuts, and whatever else, right? And they would do it all in one place. Well, one by one, they all started shutting down because people are, A, not buying DVDs and Blu-rays in abundance anymore. People aren't buying CDs in abundance anymore. People aren't buying video games in physical in abundance like they were. The retail spaces have shrunk to almost laughable sizes. Like now it's like barely a shelf. Do you guys remember way back in the day, any graybeards out there? El Nini's in the house? Yeah, the Romans knew what was up, exactly. Neo, I'll tell you this right now. He says, I have not re-upped my PS Plus yet. Wait till Modern Warfare 4 drops. You will. You will. I'll be right there. I have Black Ops 1 and 2 on Xbox as well. Yeah, Neo. Mind you, but if you have Xbox, and you'll probably play Call of Duty there too. So, I mean, But we'll see. We'll see. I'll be watching you, Neo. What's up, Dark Knight? How you doing? I'm not wearing hockey pads. Sorry, every time I think of the Dark Knight, I always think of that line. I mean, when you watch the movie, like, man, this movie's really intense. It's really awesome. But, man, it's got some really bad lines. I'm not wearing hockey pads. Golden Souk, how are you? So, anyways, getting back to this. What was happening is that those factories were shutting down. And it wasn't because of the video games. It's because they were multitasking production. And a lot of those different areas slowed down. And because they slowed down, production slowed down. Now there's less places to do it. Now it's costing more to do it because it's basically considered a specialty item now. They've openly said it. We've even seen some people talk about it where they're like, do you know how expensive it is now to start making physical or whatever? Or how about the fact that, like, for example, indie games and AA games don't even make physical at all. They're like, we can't afford it. And that's why you get, like, a lot of these AA games and single A or whatever and indie games and all that jazz come out. And I see people online talk about it. They're like, hey, yo, how come we can't get a physical of this? And the companies come right and they're like, we can't afford it. And so they release their games digital only. You see what I'm saying? But anyways, that's a whole other subject. We're just talking about the Sony getting sued thing and how I think it's not going to stick. Like I said, this is John Gotti, man. This is going to be a Teflon Don situation. They're going to be able to walk right away from that. I don't think there'll be any issue there at all. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Don't be shy to leave yours. And I know you guys do. I know you guys aren't shy. I know how you guys are out there. We got 123 beautiful people out there. And we got Maverick coming in, a member of 3 months. Thank you so much, Maverick. As a top-tier maggot, by the way. There you go. And Maverick says, definitely lack of choice. Xbox and Nintendo games can be bought at GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart, etc., even digitally. Sony is strictly the Sony store. Yes. Yes. However, if they presented it, you're not wrong, Maverick. But do we know for sure that Xbox and Nintendo, who have been actively pushing for a digital future, are still going to be selling digital games in 2028? Do we know that? That's my question. Is Helix coming with a disk drive? Probably not. I can almost guarantee it's not. You're gonna have to probably buy that separate. I mean, why else would they be promoting this disc to digital? I mean, if it's pretty friggin' obvious, isn't it what they're doing? It's not that they can't afford it, Magnum. He's saying if Sony can't afford pressing physical discs, they don't deserve to be the market leader. Well, the thing is, they can afford it. They just don't want to. Because now they're making less money. They're making less money to a market that's not as demanding as the digital market. And you know what the thing is, when we hear things like, oh, well, we got to let our wallets talk or whatever. Let our wallets speak. Well, they just did. They crashed the store with Black Ops 1 and 2. That's all they needed to know. Or the fact that I haven't seen a single person refund their digital-only GTA 6. Not one fucking person. So therefore, they know. The numbers have spoken. The wallets have spoken. To them. I'm not talking about us, okay? I'm not defending it either. I'm just saying from them. They don't give a shit about you. Don't you know that? Xbox doesn't give a shit about you. Sony doesn't give a shit about you. Nintendo doesn't care about you. Gabe Newell in his $300 million yacht doesn't give a shit about you. You know what they give a shit about? Money. And as long as there is an overwhelming amount of people supplying them with the money, and there's a smaller minority that's going to also, by the way, push back on some things, but not notable enough to be a problem, they will continue doing what they're doing. Because you know what they're banking on, folks? And I'm telling you this because I used to work in a corporation, and I know how these scumbags think. I know because I was there. I was there. I was sitting at the big boy table. I was at the oak table. I was in the room with the 6 heads. Not a Hydra, ladies and gentlemen. Not a Hydra with 6 heads. 6 heads of the corporation and Mag sitting right there. You know what they're banking on? I'll tell you what they're banking on. Let's just say, okay, I'm just making up a number here. We're just doing this for, as an example. Let's say 10% of PlayStation owners are physical purchasers. Okay, let's just say. They know from statistics. Their statistics, their analytics, their numbers, whatever else. They'll say, okay, 10% buy physical. They're doing, protests and stuff on Twitter and all this other stuff and signing petitions and all this shit. They're like, okay, well, look at that. That's about 10% of people are physical. They know that when push comes to shove, and you know it too, guys. Don't be silly. Y'all know that when push comes to shove, they know that 7% of that 10% will conform. They know it. They know you'll fold, just like Black Ops 1 and 2. They know you will. And you know why they know you will? Because what are you going to do? You're going to stop gaming? This is what we love to do. Let me ask you a more extreme question, chat. Okay? Let me ask you a more extreme question. Let's just say, Steam is already all digital, by the way. Okay? But let's just say Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony go all digital January 2028. Let's just say. Would you stop gaming? Or would you conform and be like, well, fuck, I got no choice now. But I'm not going to buy into their bullshit unless they have sales or this and that or whatever. But if you have no choice, are you just going to say, done, and then just throw your controller in the recycling bin and then just go take up crochet or something? There's only so many Yellowstone shows you can watch on Amazon Prime. They know. So what they're looking at and they're banking on, they're like, okay, well, 10% are pissed off, whatever else. The legal stuff, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that. We got an army of lawyers to deal with that shit. We got 10%. They're like 77 of that 10% will conform. And we'll lose maybe 3% at most. And that's the way they look at it. They don't care. You know why they don't care? Here's another thing. Here's another example. I actually talked to a guy said, I sold my PlayStation. And I'm like, all right, cool. Who'd you sell it to? Well, I sold it to a third-party buyer, like not Facebook Marketplace. The hell's the other one? Kijiji or whatever, right? And I'm like, oh, so they lost a customer and they gained a customer. You see what I'm getting at? You see what I'm getting at? So that 3% that does not conform, another 3% will come right in. They won't lose a goddamn thing. And they know it. Now, the legal stuff, as what we opened the show with tonight, that's a whole other situation. They're going to have to deal with that on their own, and I don't think that it'll be a problem for them. They'll win. Because they haven't told us, and you know why they're going to win? Because they actually haven't told us the business plan. Maybe that's actually a wise thing. Maybe they're saving it. Maybe they're saving that for when someone tries to sue them and like, fine, we finally have to reveal what we're actually doing. And then they come out to them like, Your Honor, this is our game plan. We just haven't announced it yet because it's still a year and a half away. However, here it is. Ba 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 ba. And they list it all down. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, that actually doesn't sound too bad. That's actually pretty cool. Or whatever they end up doing, right? So maybe they're just holding that as an ace up their sleeve. And then, but anyways, I don't think anything's going to come of it. But it is making its rounds in the news. And I thought that was very interesting. But anyways, that's enough about the Sony stuff. I'm tired of talking about it, man. We've been talking about it for like 2 fucking weeks. It's like the people that just want to talk about Concord for 3 years. It's like, guys, it was a live service game that failed. Like, just let it go. You know, it's just like the one on Xbox that PlayStation guys were dunking on Xbox guys for like 5 fucking years. What was that stupid-ass game? Scalebound. It's like, guys, let it go, man. It's a game that just didn't work out. It was a shitty thing that happened. It was a shitty game. You know, it was a shitty partnership. It didn't work out. Like, let it go, man. Like, people are still talking about Scalebound in like 2021. The game was canceled like 5 years before. Like, let it go. This situation, now, I'm not saying to let this situation go because it's far from over. It hasn't happened yet. However, I think that at this point, just talking in circles about it is just, it doesn't go anywhere because we're going to have to just wait and see how this all turns out. But anyways, Merkel comes in, drops in a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Merkel. Thank you, Merkel. Appreciate you, brother. And thank you for being here tonight. He says, heard an interesting case being made where physical media was the legal defense they had against monopolizing their market. Discs go equals lawyers show up. Yeah, I mean, there was a situation. There's all kinds of situations that are happening right now, Merkel. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you, brother. The thing is this. It's Deceiver. He goes, we've moved on to hating marathon guys. There's going to be all kinds of stuff going on, and there's going to be a lot of different legalities, ladies and gentlemen, that are going to show up here. And I think that there has to be some kind of intervention by existing governments when it comes to ownership, because now that the world has basically moved on to all digital, well, then there's going to have to be, but the thing is, like, a lot of the digital stuff that we have right now is streaming, right? Like, Spotify is not the same as like buying a digital game, because you're paying for a service to stream their product, not yours. Netflix, same thing. Amazon, Hulu, Disney Plus, Crave, whatever, right? You know, Apple TV. That's their property, and you're paying to have access to their property. Digital purchases of games, though, is something you bought for full price. And technically, you're supposed to own it. However, at even just the swish and flick of a Harry Potter wand,
Control your emotions. Discipline your mind.
they can just make it disappear.
Control your emotions.
You know what I mean?
Discipline your mind.
Like the guy in Brazil who sued Microsoft. He's like, I don't give a shit that you blocked me or whatever. Like, whatever happened to him. I can't remember what happened to him, the details. And then he got all this stuff back. They had to give him all this stuff back, and they gave him an extra $400 on top of it. Not that that's like a huge victory, but like, you know, $400. But like, still, I made $400 betting on the World Cup last week. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, it still was something. And it's something that's going to have to be addressed and rectified in the future, and it's very important. And so this is a very wild time, folks. We're seeing a huge paradigm shift in the gaming space that has never been seen before. Because up until this point, it's been pretty obvious what has been happening from the 1970s all the way up until now. It's been buy box, buy cartridge or disc, put disc in box, play. But now that everything is shifting toward, and then digital was an option, it wasn't the norm. And now it's not only become the norm, it's become the overwhelming norm. And now that things are all shifting to that digital future, now they're going to have to make amendments for our rights. But anyways, we'll see. However, we got to talk about some other stuff tonight, folks. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to something that I actually found to be in their own way, because they're so calm and cool about it. Digital Foundry shredding the living shit out of Xbox.
Yeah!
That was funny. I don't know if you guys watched their video. You'll find it. If you haven't watched the video, it's about 19 minutes long. It's a clip from one of their shows, whatever. I don't watch all their shows because, listen, to be fair to those guys, I know they have like 1 million plus subs and they're super successful and they're wicked smart at what they do. But I'm not going to lie to you guys, man. I think watching two flies fuck is more exciting sometimes. Like, I could literally fall asleep to those guys because they're just like, and the SSD was found to be 8% more powerful. And we see the deceiver's actually pulling out his 5-iron. And he's approximately 96 yards from the hole. Oh, it's a beautiful shot. Just barely missed the water trap. What you think about that, John? Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like listening to, like, golf. Like, it's like listening to, like, a golf announcer. You know what I'm saying? Robert Griffin, how you doing, man? Pushing Polygons is here. Ryder's here. How you guys doing? It's like, I swear to God, I could literally watch golf. It's the same fucking thing. It's like, well, he's got himself an 18-foot putt with a slight 35-degree angle. It looks like the PlayStation 5 is a little bit behind on performance. It's showing up at 42 frames per second in performance. And he sinks the putt. He sinks the putt for a par. He sinks the putt for a par. Like, you know what I mean? Like. So, anyways, I watch this though. I'm like, let me see what this is all about. So, if you're looking for it, just Google like Digital Foundry id Software. Okay, that was like the main thing. So I looked up the id Software thing or whatever, and I checked it out. And I'm like, I watched the video. It's about 19 minutes long. And man, they were in their own quiet way. Because, you know, the way they talk and stuff. And I'm not making fun of them, man. These guys are wicked smart, and like they're hugely successful. I'm just making jokes because, you know, they are very calm, you know. But the thing is, literal table, I'll keep going if you don't like it, eh? If you don't like it, when people say that, like, you say, okay, we get it. Guess what? I'll do it more now. Anyways. So they talked about this, and they're talking about the id Software situation specifically. And the three gentlemen were having their conversation, and then I'm not going to go into all the details. You can watch all the video yourself. It's very interesting. But man, they were not kind. And they're like, basically, in a way, I will paraphrase everything that they were saying, but they're like, yeah, basically the Microsoft management has no idea what they're doing. They're like, they know they're working on numbers, metrics, most likely fired the people who cost the most money, not realizing that those are the people that are actually the backbone of, for example, id Software being such a pillar in the gaming community and blah, 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 and on, whatever. And they're talking about Asha Sharma and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, clearly she has no idea what she's doing when it comes to the gaming world or whatever. But she knows what she's doing with dollars and cents, but that does not equate to the talent that they got rid of. It's kind of crazy. And then one of the guys was actually talking about something pretty interesting. He said it was pretty funny. He's like, they saw the statement from id Software, which, by the way, I'll read for you right now. This is the one that says, end quote from id Software after it was done. When they shredded 76% of the staff. It goes, thank you for, and all this, by the way, and all the senior staff that actually know how to run id Tech. The coders. Thank you for all the support this week. While our studio was impacted, those changes were spread across teams. We still have the crew we need to build the games and tech we're known for. The team today is about the same size we were when making Doom 2016. We have always had a flat studio where everyone is a maker and will remain true to that philosophy moving forward. So that was the statement coming from them. And then Digital Foundry immediately was like, no, we don't believe any of that. And they're like, they got rid of all the people that actually do the coding and all the senior people who know how to run the engine and how, like, all the ins and outs and all the little nuances and everything else. And they're like, no, you got rid of all of that. And then one of them said actually something pretty interesting. He's like, that's like saying that you got rid of Ringo Starr, John Lennon, and George Harrison, and all you got left is Paul McCartney. He says, no, the Beatles are still here. We got Paul McCartney. That's still the Beatles. That's the Beatles. We're gonna keep making Beatles albums with Paul McCartney only. And it's like, that actually is true because they got rid of 76% of the staff. That's 3/4. Well, that's the same thing. The analogy actually holds true. You got rid of 3 Beatles, and now you're left with 1 Beatle, saying that you're still the Beatles. And he's like, well, the thing is, you had a smaller team back then, and that was the thing that I think it was John Linneman. I don't want to put words in people's mouths. You have to go watch the interview yourself. And he's like, yeah, they had the same size team that they did when they were working with 2016 Doom. But here's the thing. All of the senior guys who knew how to run the engine and knew how to optimize and how to maximize performance with that thing, you fired all of them.
Yeah! Fire!
That's the thing that they were trying to get across. It's like, it's not the number, it's the people. And he says that's where it shows their ineptitude of not understanding the actual business. Is that if you were going to get rid of people, you got rid of the wrong people. And the thing is, this is what is being deducted at that point, is that then you could say, well, actually, who did they get rid of? All the senior guys. Well, what do senior guys do in a company, folks? Happened to me. In the corporate world, I got pushed out the door and had somebody making literally 30% salary cheaper than me trying to do my job. Guess what? They failed. Because they couldn't do my job. And I'm still laughing about it now. So then they actually got rid of people most likely based on their salaries in order to save money. It's like, whoa, this guy's making way too much money. And this is what Digital Foundry was trying to say. It's like, yes, okay, fine. That guy making a lot of money and you want to cut that because you're trying to cut the cost. But you didn't stop to think about who that guy was and what he did. And he says that was the problem. It's not Blue Marvel. He says that's the problem. It's not firing the people that was the problem. By the way, can we stop with this fucking let go shit? It's the same thing as unalived. You know, when you go like on Twitter or Instagram, and it's like, oh, 2 people were unalived at the lounge at 3 a.m. Just say fucking dead, murdered, killed, whatever. Or the other one, they unalived themselves or they self-deleted. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is this? George Orwell's 1984? Just say the words. They were fired.
Yeah!
Fired. Right? Well, they were let go. What, like a bunch of butterflies at a wedding? They were let go? Open the cage, sweetheart. It's to show our love to the world. We're just going to let the butterflies go. You didn't let them go. You fired them because it cost too much money. And that's where Digital Foundry went in there and they said, no, you didn't look into what they did there. He says, so the thing is, you may have literally a quarter of the staff, and the same numbers, but you didn't stop to think, what those people did. You went and fired the most expensive people, but those are the people with the knowledge. So essentially, you killed that studio. They're going to be a support studio with Machine Games and Bethesda and all that shit, and they're just going to work together on something. But those magicians, those wizards, those guys that did that stuff, you fired them because they probably cost too much. Anyway, Digital Foundry shredded the fuck out of them. So if you want to go watch that, it's 19 minutes. Now, like I said, they're not as nasty as I am. Their delivery is not as, of course, as harsh as mine can be, obviously, because, you know, that's kind of what I do. But, like, when you listen to them talking, you're just sitting there going, oh, snap. Oh, snap. You're like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. You're like, listen to this. It's like you listen to the things that they're saying, and they're like, they're not happy. And like I said, it's not because you let a bunch of dinosaurs from the gaming industry go. No. You let go of the guys who actually know what they're doing. And a lot of that comes with experience. And that's what they're saying. They're saying the management now doesn't have the actual long-term experience to understand the ramifications of what they did. So anyways, I thought it was very interesting. Go check it out. It's absolutely worth it. It's absolutely worth every second. Like I said, it's about 19 minutes long, and it was really good. Did I just drop my pen? Where the hell could it have possibly gone? Oh, it's right here, for God's sake. You know. But anyways, it was totally wild, man. It was totally wild. And you know what? They're right. I'll take a stand on this. They were right when it comes to id Software. Not everybody, okay? I'm not going to get into the whole thing about, you know, all the studios that were sold off and then other ones that were spun out independently and all this shit. We're not talking about that. We're talking specifically about id Software and, you know, how that entire situation went down. Now, the other thing is, too, I mentioned this before as I spoke to some people at Microsoft a while ago, and they're saying that Halo Studios was being looked at too, right? There was issues with Halo Studios, and I'm like, yeah, I knew that. I mean, I've known there was issues at Halo Studios since when they were called 343. That's why I made that video. Where I'm like, Halo Studios is literally just 343 wearing a wig. It's the same fucking place with the same people, the same problems, and there's issues there too. Let's also not forget, guys, that the deceptive way of which they're doing these cuts is what's kind of pissing me off too. It's like, oh, 1,600. So you know what? They get that out there, and all of a sudden everybody's talking like, oh, it's just 1,600, and then they're going to do another down the road, and it's just 1,600 because they want the number 1,600 in the news instead of 3,200, right? Because it sounds better, right? It's better for optics. And if you fall for that, well, you know, what can I tell you? That's exactly who they're aiming at with that kind of stuff, right? But what I'm getting at is that these cuts ain't over. Now, this leads into something else I wanted to talk about. By the way, before we do that, we got El Nini coming in, dropping a $5 super chat. Thank you, El Nini. Appreciate that very much. And he says, welcome to hell.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker.
Welcome to hell. Thank you so much, El Nini. Appreciate you very much, my friend. Thank you. And Merkel comes in, drops another $2 super chat. Let's go. Thank you so much, Merkel. That's 2 tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And he says, saw the I Am Rocky trailer. I watched it an hour before the show tonight. Yes. And he says, amazing actor pick. Yes, man. The vocal fry is a little over the top. Like he took it a little bit too far. But I'll tell you this. It looks great. I can't wait to see it. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, go check out a trailer. It's called I Am Rocky. And it's basically about when Sylvester Stallone came up with the idea for the movie Rocky, wrote the movie, and of course had to fight to star in the movie, and of course on top of all of that, won the Academy Award for Best Picture. So yeah, it's a whole thing. Oh, Deceiver, I love you. And he says, so the YouTube channel knows better than a CEO of $1 trillion business. Great take, Mag.
Yeah!
I don't know if you know me, Deceiver. I was upper management of a $1 billion corporation. So I did all of this stuff. All the stuff that they're doing now, I'm doing. And the business that I was running in was pretty much about the same size as the Xbox division. So yeah, so I was pretty much in that same position in the head office. So yes, this motherfucking YouTuber does know, not better, but know what that's all about. So Deceiver, you lose. Mag 1, Deceiver 0. Get at me, dog. I know you're not talking about me, Deceiver. I'm just fucking with you. I was just taking my time. I know you were talking about. Digital Foundry. Yeah. No, I didn't get fired. I got let go. No. No, they tried to change the parameters. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but they tried to change the parameters of the position and what they call. I know. I'm just fucking with you, Deceiver. What they did do is they tried to change the parameters of my position in order to try and what's called corporate squeezing. So what they were doing is, it was at McDonald's. They were trying to squeeze me out of the position to make it impossible for me to do the tasks that were done. And then I realized and I saw what was coming, and I'm like, nah, yeah. And so what I did is I put myself in a position to make sure that they paid me a lot of fucking money. So that's what I did. Hey, man, you got to be smart, and you got to play the corporate game, man. That's the way it goes. You got to play the corporate game. Remember, none of those guys love you. And remember, folks, you want someone to deceive, remember this, and everybody else remember this. When it comes to work, I'm telling you right now, don't be loyal to your jobs. I know it sounds crazy. I've been loyal for decades, slaving away, giving up my life, giving up everything. And you know what? They're never loyal to you. They're never loyal to you. They're only loyal to you as long as you're useful. Even if you give up birthdays and weddings and funerals and Christmases and holidays and giving up time to see your kids and your wife or your husband or whatever, they don't give a shit, because the second that you're not useful to them, they throw you out like fucking trash.
Asha Sharma wins. Fatality.
That's exactly what they do. So remember, be loyal to your family, be loyal to your friends, be loyal to your wife, to your husband, to your kids. That's who you be loyal to. Work is just work. Do it well, go home. That's all there is to it. Trust me, I've been doing it for a very long time. I know. And I know how corporations think. I was there when they made those disgusting decisions about people. Not me. I didn't give a shit about me. I was fine about me. I'm like, y'all going to pay the price. And they did. And, but that's that's a story for another time. But I'm talking about all the people that I saw get victimized over the years or whatever else. I never made those decisions. I was like, no, I'm not part of this. I'm not doing part of that. You guys deal with that shit. That's your thing. But I used to witness it. And there's nothing I could do about it. But, it is what it is, man. And that's how it is with these corporations. No different here. Now, the thing is, I want to talk about this very quickly. But before we do that, we got James Black, a member for 9 months, comes in and spams ponies.
Ponies and ponies.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. You got the pony song. You wanted it. You got it. There it is. Yes, there it is. Q-Max, how you doing, man? Yeah, thank you so much, James Black, for being a member for 9 months. I appreciate you, brother. And we've got T-Rock coming in, dropping a $2 super chat. Let's go. T-Rock, we're going to talk about that right now, and that's something I'm going to actually be doing in a video tomorrow. I'm going to drop a video tomorrow talking about that. I did a video shredding PlayStation. Tomorrow I'm doing a video, and I'm going to be shredding Xbox. So these are my opinion videos that I'm doing. I'm doing 2 a week now of like opinion videos, and the reason why I'm doing them is so that it's actually done to promote conversation. So the thing is, I'm not going to be an asshole about it. I'm just going to be there and say, listen, this is what's happening. This is what I think is going on. This is what's going on. So yes, T-Rock, that's the other thing. That's what I was getting into before Deceiver came after me. I'm just kidding. Yeah. But in all seriousness, yeah, they're letting another 1,600 people go. And that leads into the next thing I want to talk about in regards to this situation is that you got Halo with whatever the hell's going on over there. There's all kinds of trouble going on with the management. We've been talking about that for years, guys. We know. Come on. We know that for years. We've been talking about that situation for years. So we know that there's issues going on at Halo Studios. The game is coming out in 2 weeks or whatever, but it's not like a sequel or anything. It's not like a monster budget like Halo 7 or whatever the hell it's going to be and this and that, right? We don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something. But either way, T-Rock, you got a point there, brother. And here's the thing. You got 1,600 more coming. I bet you that Halo Studios is going to get hit with stuff. Now, this is the one. Now, I thought about this today, and this really bothered me. I'm not saying this is going to happen, and I really don't want to will this into the universe because, you know, I don't want to will this out in the universe. I don't want to put out bad juju out there, okay? But there is this. I thought about it. I was making the kids chicken burgers tonight, okay? And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I went, fuck. And it dawned on me, and I'm like, wait a minute. What if they just killed 76% of id Software the week they released apparently a stunning DLC. It's like 90 on Metacritic or some shit. I haven't played it yet, and I heard it's amazing. Now I'm not even sure I want to give them the money because I don't even know if that money's going to id Software anymore. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. All I know is that I heard that the DLC is really good. If you guys played it in the chat, let me know if you guys played the new Doom DLC. Because if you have, let me know in the chat. What? Uh-oh. Guys. You might get a glimpse. Because I know you guys have seen Gizmo a million times, but you've never seen Luna. There she is. The fattest. Yeah, I know, baby. The fattest Sphinx in the world. That's Luna right there. Hi, baby. Say hi. All right, get out of here. Look at the tummy on her. Okay, go. She never comes in here. All right, some people saying yes, some people saying no. You're playing it now, eh, Shabooks? Hey, Shabooks, how you doing, man? Yeah, no, that's a she, little table. That's a she. She's never come on camera. Like, you guys have seen Gizmo, because Gizmo jumps up on me and shit. But she rarely comes in here. But she came in to visit me tonight. She is a fat... She's like Jabba the Hutt. I was actually going to rename her Jabba the Hutt, but my wife... yeah, it is No Talent Tan. Yeah, it's Egyptian Sphinx. Yeah, I have two of them. I got Gizmo and Luna. So, anyways, here's the thing. Deceiver, oh my god, yeah, she's so cute, man. They're both hilarious. Noisy mofos in the house. So here's the thing. I was thinking about this. Imagine this. You drop this. I was about to say dump. That's a horrible word. You drop this stellar DLC from what I understand. Like I said, I haven't picked it up yet. I am neck deep in Black Flag and I can't stop playing the game, man. I can't. It's got its hooks right into my balls. I can't stop. I see an island. I gotta go explore it. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, I haven't touched it. But they let go of 76% of id Software the same week that they dropped the DLC. And this horrible thought, because I have anxiety. You guys know this, okay? I have some pretty heavy anxiety issues. And I thought about this today, and I'm like, what if they drop Gear Z Day? Okay, this is what I do, okay? Okay, so someone who has anxiety, now you guys know, okay? I know a lot of you guys already know this. When people with anxiety, especially like someone like me who has pretty severe anxiety issues, I may not show it. You might see glimpses of it here and there. Like even when I'm doing a show, you might see me like doing this. I'm like touching, like I was going to say touching myself. I'm going to say, oh, that's not appropriate. It's not what I mean. Like you'll see me like grabbing my neck or you see me like stretching my arm or doing stuff like that. It's because I get fidgety. It's my anxiety starts to, go up or whatever. And so it has to back off. That's why I also drink a lot of water. Water helps with that, right? Anyways, when you have anxiety issues like I do, pretty serious ones, what ends up happening is you always think worst case scenario. Okay? So I'm sitting there, I'm making these chicken burgers for the kids, and I thought, oh, fuck. Can you imagine they drop Gear Z Day, right? Statistically, Gears doesn't perform monstrously on the PC, like in Steam, right? It's prevalent mostly on Xbox consoles, right? But within 2 weeks, how long are you going to Mars? 2 weeks. Sorry, just popped in my head. Within 2 weeks of that, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 drops, right? And that's not on Game Pass. But Gears of War E-Day is a console exclusive, not exclusive. And it is on Game Pass. So, and Asha's talked about Game Pass saying it's not working. So now, she said it herself, okay, don't come after me. Go read her statement. The first thing she said was Game Pass, for God's sake. So, like, you know, go talk to her. Don't talk to me.
Asha Sharma wins. Fatality.
So the thing is, I'm thinking to myself, I'm spiraling, right? I'm doing this anxiety spiral. And I'm going, fuck. Steam doesn't really perform well with Gears. It's on Xbox. But I can almost guarantee. I can't guarantee you nothing. I'm going to shut my mouth. I can't guarantee nothing. But I'll tell you this. A lot of people are going to consume Gears of War E-Day on Game Pass because they have to buy Modern Warfare 4 this year because it's not in Game Pass. So I'm thinking, as an Xbox gamer, you probably sit there going, well, I'm not going to buy both. I mean, some people will. Obviously, there's going to be, I see someone in the chat who has said it. Someone in the chat, I'm buying I'm buying, oh, there we go. We got El Nini. I'm buying ED on my Series X. Yeah. So, like, there's obviously going to be hardcore Gears fans out there who are obviously going to buy the game. People are going to buy the deluxe edition, the premium edition, so you get early access to the campaign. You know that's going to happen, right? I might be one of them. I might do, because I already got it on Game Pass because I have Game Pass code until November. So I'm like, well, I might just upgrade for like $35 or whatever the hell it is and play it 5 days early so we could do the campaign. We could do some co-op shit with the community and all that stuff. Like, that'd be fun, right? Like, with all of us. I think that'd be a good idea. Now, here's the thing. That's right. Gaming Grindhouse is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like. Hello, Jez. How are you, buddy? So here's the thing. Now I'm going, if I was an Xbox gamer, what would I do? And I'm like, I've already bought GTA 6 for 160 Canadian dollars, for God's sake, right? Another $100 for Call of Duty. And I'm looking at Gears E-Days on Game Pass. My bet would be that a lot of people say, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to play it on Game Pass. I'm going to buy Call of Duty, and obviously you have no choice but to buy GTA 6 if you're playing it. But so you see what I'm saying? So in my head, I'm going, there might be a possibility here that it will not perform up to their standards, up to Asha Sharma's standards.
Asha Sharma
right?
wins. Fatality.
Or Satya's.
Satya Nadella.
So now I'm thinking about this and I'm going, wait a minute, they might not hit sales expectations. What if all of a sudden, now I'm going to ask you this, and this is what I was asking myself. I've been dancing around the subject too long. Okay, I'm just going to get to the point now. And I'm like, part of the 1,600 layoffs that come out, imagine they drop E-Day and then like a month later, like, yeah, it didn't perform or whatever. 2 months later, 3 months later, they give them a 90-day window. They're like, yeah, it didn't perform. And then all of a sudden they gut like half of Coalition. How would you feel? What's up, Romeo? How you doing, man? How would you feel? Now apply that to all the people who love id Software and how they feel. Doom 2016 did well. Doom, the second one, Doom Eternal, did well. All of a sudden, the one game that launches day one on Game Pass doesn't hit sales metrics. Now, it wasn't as good. Let's be fair. Okay, I'm gonna go 50-50 on this, okay, before everybody loses their minds. I'm gonna go 50-50 with you. I'll meet you halfway. How about that? The one Doom game that dropped day and date in Game Pass did not hit sales expectations. Is that a fucking coincidence, or is that possibly because of Game Pass and now that is being singled out? Now, the other thing is, I thought that Doom the Dark Ages was actually the weakest of the trilogy. So there is that, but now I'm hearing this DLC is like absolutely stellar. So I'm like, they really bounced back with this. And I'm like, well, what the fuck, man? You had 2 out of 3 were financial successes. They weren't massive, like huge hits, but they were financial successes for them. And then all of a sudden, the third one, the first time that it drops in Game Pass and it doesn't hit the metrics, apply it to Gears of War. That's what I'm trying to say. People are going to make those decisions, and they're going to say, well, I'm going to play Gears on Game Pass because it's there, because Call of Duty is not, GTA 6 is not. And then never mind the smattering of other games that are coming out during that time. Onimusha, Silent Hill, Rayman, Star Wars Galactic Racer. Like, do I have to go on and on? It's endless. I'm afraid. This is what I'm getting at. I'm afraid for Coalition if it doesn't perform. up to their standards. I'm not saying everybody else, because they're going to come on and say 1 million people bought the premium upgrade or whatever else and this and that. Whatever. And by the way, that's another thing. Have you noticed this? And this is something I've been talking about for a very long time on this channel, on this very show. What did I say? I kept saying it over and over, and I kept saying on an XNC as well with Colt Eastwood. Even he agrees with me with this. And I said, have you noticed that all these, not all of them, but a lot of these companies now with these big bangers, they all have these $30, $40 premium upgrades? And Xbox has been doing it more and more and more. They're doing it with Halo right now. They want to charge me $40 to play the campaign 5 days early, right? They want to charge me another $40 to play Gears of War early. Did you ever, same thing, $40 to play Forza early. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why? What's up, Jardel? I didn't even see you, man. How you doing, brother? I saw you were in the show at the very beginning. Falcon, how are you? Did you ever stop to ask yourself why they're doing that? You think they're doing it because they like you? They're doing it because they're losing sales because of Game Pass. You understand? Call of Duty, they're doing it because they're just going to gouge the shit out of you because it's Call of Duty. And that's what they do. I mean, Rockstar Call of Duty is basically the same thing. Look at Rockstar. I had to pay $160 to get the premium edition just so I can get a fly haircut and a couple of cool outfits and a dune buggy. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when you look at that situation, they're charging that extra $40 because they're not making it because of Game Pass. I'm afraid for the coalition. It's this sentence that I'm saying right now, this stance that I have right now, this thought process I have right now may be unwarranted. I may be 100% wrong. And if I am wrong, I will admit it right here on the show, and I will take it right on the chin. Pause. I have no problem to say that I'm wrong. But I'm just telling you, there's a small little candle burning inside my belly going, I'm scared for those guys because they're amazing. Coalition is awesome. And imagine, well, we didn't hit the metrics, start shaving them back. I'm scared to see that. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Fuzzy Tomato, how you doing, buddy? Truth, how are you? I'm not trying to say that that's going to happen. I'm just saying I'm afraid because of what we've already seen so far. Like I said, all you have to do is cut and paste the id Software situation. Was it their fault that people consumed it on Game Pass and didn't purchase the game as well as the other two in the series before they were acquired? Now, mind you, I did also say it wasn't as good. I still gave it a 7 out of 10. I still said it was decent, but it wasn't as good as the other two. I actually think that, my personal opinion, the 2016 Doom is the best Doom out of the new trilogy. In second place, funny enough, is also Doom Eternal. I didn't like all the traversal in Eternal. That was pissing me off. Like all the jumping, the climbing, the this, the that. I'm like, what is this, a first-person Nathan Drake? Like, what's going on here? I'm like, I'm spending more time climbing, jumping, double jumping, this, that, zipping, all this bullshit. I'm like, instead of like shooting and killing people. It was annoying after a while. There was too much emphasis on it. However, it was still the second best of the series. And then Doom the Dark Ages, I thought was the weakest of the trilogy. So that, I mean, that doesn't help the case either, but you also can't ignore the other side of it. So when I started thinking about that today, while I'm sitting there making chicken burgers and minion fries for my kids, I'm sitting there going, fuck, I'm afraid for the coalition. Now, I'm not saying they're going to shut them down. They're not going to shut them down. That's never going to happen because they're still going to make Gears because Gears is going to be part of the flagship. You know how like they're doing the very risk-averse. We're doing 5-6 big games. Gears, Forza, Halo, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Minecraft, ad nauseum, basically all just the bangers, and that's all there is to it. You want your keepers, you're going to have to go to ID at Xbox. Right? So, you know what I mean? They're going to stay with all the big bangers. That's how it's going to go. But I'm just afraid that if it doesn't perform, I think that they're going to get hit. I'm not saying that, so don't quote me. Mag says they're going to get hit. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, just start putting 2 and 2 together, man. Badlands, how you doing, buddy? Guerrilla Tactics in the house? No, dude, Guerrilla Tactics, don't get me wrong. He says Dark Ages might have been the weakest, but it was still a lot of fun. You goddamn right it was a lot of fun. I loved it. Q-Max, you want chicken burgers? You come over here. The minion fries I don't make. I bought them at Walmart, but they're really good. They're like stuffed with mashed potatoes, kind of like, you know, those smiley face things you put in the oven. What's up, Snippy Luck? How you doing? Jizz. But you see what I'm getting at? All I did was apply the same logic of what happened to id Software, and then the next big launch after Halo, the next big launch is Gears of War. And I'm afraid because of where it's situated, and because of Call of Duty and GTA 6, I think a lot of people are going to consume it on Game Pass, and that's not going to really move anything because a lot of the people that are in Game Pass are still there. They're going to stay there. So there's been no change. It's been a stagnant amount. It's staying stagnant there. I don't think you're going to get 10 million new people subscribing to Game Pass just to play Gears of War and then bounce out. You might get some, but I don't think it's going to move the needle that much. So all the people that are already currently in there are going to be consuming it there. And then, now, not all of them, because like I said, hardcores are going to go out and buy it and whatever else and get the things and, buy like the statues and all that shit, whatever. God bless you, man. I love it. I love the enthusiasm for something that you love. I love that. I'm all for that. I'm just thinking a lot of people are going to consume it there, and it's not going to hit their sales metrics because I don't think Asha gives a fuck about engagement. She does care about engagement, but I think that they're looking at raw numbers, and that is going to be an issue. I'm afraid. Now, hopefully I'm wrong. Let's just say out the gate, all right, we sold 5 million in the first week. I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm talking about. And I think that this situation here is going to be a catalyst for whether you see day and date come in the future. Because I think that after the games that they announce come in day and date, I think after that, you're not going to see a whole lot of them come in day and date anymore. That's what I'm thinking. What's up, Goldie Mello? How you doing, man? So that's what I'm saying. That's right, T-Rock. You're right. So you see what I'm saying? I think that that's going to be the catalyst moving forward, giving them the excuse to say no more day and date because it's not worth it for us anymore. You need to buy these games. We will put them in the service 6 months down the road. Even Colt and I were talking about this, and even Colt agrees with me. I don't want to put words in his mouth. However, he did say the same thing. He goes, day and date's becoming a problem now. Right? And so I think that after the games that they have already announced, well, I mean, not that that means anything. I mean, they also announced that State of Decay 3 and, what's it called? And Senua were coming day one to Game Pass. Now they're not coming. I mean, they're coming to Xbox, but they're not coming to Game Pass at all. So who the hell knows? The plan's the plan until it's not the plan, right?
Asha Sharma wins.
You know what I mean? So we saw what that happened there. So like now I'm not even sure about that. I'm telling you, I'm starting to think that they're going to be like, listen, man, I think after whatever we've promised you is going to be day and date on Game Pass. After that, forget it. You're going to have to buy these games if you want them. Game Pass will now be $19.99 instead of $23, and then you're going to get them 6 months to a year down the road. Then, or maybe a year down the road, 12 months after, just like they did with Call of Duty. What do they do with Call of Duty? We pull Call of Duty, you get it 12 months later. Done. I'll tell you right now, you ain't seen no Elder Scrolls Day 1 in there. You ain't seen Fallout in there. No. I think those days are done, folks. I think those days are done. Or, you know what, music? Maybe you're right, dude. Maybe you're right, music. Maybe $14.99. $14.99, I bet you get a shitload more people out there getting Game Pass at $14.99 and play some of those like legacy titles down the road they haven't got to yet. Music, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, music. I think that you're right. Listen to him. $14.99. That sounds pretty good to me. So that's a situation, folks. That's something that I've been looking at, and I'm like, wow. And now I'm worried about them. Kind of scared about it. But anyways, whatever. Now, continuing down the Microsoft train, we're going to be talking about some more stuff because they love being in the news. You know how it is. I know Sony's like duking it out for first place to get all the spotlight for shitty news. But I mean, this is not actually a shitty news thing. It's something I actually wanted to clarify, just so everybody doesn't freak out. So there was something going around about 5-6 hours ago. They were talking about how Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 was advertised. You guys see this? It was advertised to go to Game Pass, right? And then all of a sudden it was quietly pulled, and they didn't say anything until somebody pointed out. They're like, yo, what's going on here? Why did Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 get pulled out of Game Pass? So then what ended up happening, I'll tell you what happened, folks. You know how social media gets. Everybody started spiraling out of control saying, you see, they're taking day and date. It's fucking gone. And I'm like, guys, that game is a year old. Like, it's not a day and date situation. And they're like, Activision doesn't want to be in Game Pass, which they don't, by the way. I've spoken to many people at Activision and at Bethesda, and both of them from both camps have both said we never wanted to be in Game Pass. And they were very adamant about it. And in fact, if you want to know, a lot of them at the Microsoft town hall meetings have openly said, we don't want to be in this service. Don't take it from me. So anyways, continuing with this story, what happened was this. It disappeared from the list. They had like the coming soon to Xbox Game Pass or whatever, and in the bottom right-hand corner was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remakes, right? And they disappeared, and so everybody's freaking out, saying, "Oh, they're taking the games out again. Games are coming out of Game Pass, and Activision doesn't want to be part of it." And this and that. Well, it turns out they released a statement. So the stays Sub-Zero wins fatality. Hey, how you doing, Sub-Zero? So it turns out, folks, it actually was a nothing burger. Not a nothing burger. It actually ties into a lot of other things that we have been talking about, folks. And what it was about. It was about licensing. So apparently they came out and they talked about it. And they said, no, it's a licensing issue, guys. And we have to work it out. We thought it was actually worked out, but now it has to be renewed. Obviously, this has to do with either the music, most likely the music, because everybody knows that Tony Hawk games, what's most prevalent in a Tony Hawk game is the music, obviously, right? Here I am, pretending I'm a Superman. Oh, God damn it, I love that song. And you know what I mean? So most likely it's about the licensing for the music, or it actually could be the characters too, because they are using real skateboarders and stuff who are, registered trademarks, right? So it could be that. And they said, yeah, it's some licensing issues we need to work out. We haven't worked it out yet. It was funny. I saw Special Nick put up a tweet from Greece. I think he's on a vacation in Greece for forever. It seems like that guy's been on vacation forever, but either way, Special Nick is like, guys, you had a whole fucking year. What is taking so long? You know what I mean? But it is what it is. But he did say something about it. He's like, guys, it's been a whole year. How long does it take, to get this together? But that, ladies and gentlemen, kind of ties into what we first started this show tonight. What did we start the show with? With the whole Sony thing and the Sony digital thing, and what was one of the concerns that haven't been addressed yet? Don't worry, I'll tell you. The licensing is going to be an issue moving forward. All of a sudden, games are there. All of a sudden, games disappear. They're on a service. They're not on a service. They're in the storefront to buy. They're gone. What the fuck is going on, right? And it's this licensing business when it comes to racing games, obviously Tony Hawk games, sports games, when you're dealing with the NFLPA, the NHLPA, whatever, right? MLBPA. You're dealing with all that shit and all the licensing that goes on with all the sports games. It's a nightmare. And it needs to be rectified. And so now, this Tony Hawk situation, a game that was supposed to go out in Game Pass, and people are like, all right, that's awesome. And all of a sudden, poof, Professor Snape made it disappear.
Control your emotions. Discipline your mind.
You know what I'm saying? Gone. Now, will it make its way back? Who the hell knows? They didn't say. Oh, yeah, don't worry, we'll put it back in, next month. They just said, yeah, we're having a licensing issue. And then it just went, poof. Disappeared into the ether. Are they going to continue doing this shit in the future? This is something that needs to be spoken about before they go to an all-digital future. Because and I've said this a million times before, folks, when you make a consumer question things, when you make a consumer doubt, even for 1 second, consumer confidence is gone. Because it's their money. Not everybody's Elon Musk. Yeah, whatever, man. Just throw $1 million over here. I went to a concert last night. The beer was $25 fucking dollars. Mind you, it was a King can, but still, $25 for a beer. How many beers do you think I'm going to buy? I had to strategically space it out through the night. I'm not spending $400 on beer that I could have bought for $25 at home. You know what I'm saying? You got to think about that. When you make a consumer question something, or you make them hesitate for 1 second, you lost the customer. That is what's called customer psychology. I learned all of that stuff. I did courses on that. Customer psychology. Little Evil. Yeah, that's what I'm literally saying. Now apply that to Sony. That's why we don't want to. I know the chat is a little bit delayed on my end, but it's whatever. Exactly, music. Yeah. For one beer, $25. So, you see what I'm getting at? So now this whole situation with the Sony thing going all digital, this ties into directly to what just happened with Xbox and Tony Hawk. It just brings it back into the light, and you're just going, wow, what the hell? So I don't know. I thought it was very interesting. But either way, in the long run, it wasn't some nefarious weirdness or whatever. It wasn't like, they're taking it away because they're removing day one or, games from Game Pass or whatever. It had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with Activision changing their policies or whatever. It had everything to do with the licensing. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up tonight, because like I said, this ties directly into what Sony's going to do in the future. And I know they still have like 18 months. However, they need to address it sometime between now and the next 18 months. You can't just willy-nilly do this shit anymore, because people are going to push back saying, listen, you gave us no option, and now you're taking away some options within that option. That's a problem. You know what I mean? Anyways, it was just a small topic. It was just like a 10-minute thing. I just wanted to talk about it. But either way, it was something I want to talk about before. The last thing we're going to talk about tonight, folks. The last thing we're going to talk about tonight, of course, is going to be the Xbox hardware projections that we saw show up the other day, right? But anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. But before we talk about that, we got T-Rock coming and dropping a $2 super chat. Let's go! Thank you, T-Rock. Appreciate you, brother. And he says, for $2 United States dollars, he says, ZeniMax Online Studios leadership was just fired. What the frig?
Yeah!
There you go. You're fired. Music 72 cigarettes are $25 a pack. Yeah. I mean, I don't smoke anymore. Cigarettes anyway. I mean, I vape, but like, and that's infinitely cheaper. It's like $50. It's like $60 a month. Whereas like smoking is like $100 a week. So like $60 a month to do this and whatever is obviously doesn't carry all the same toxins and shit. Hey, Doom Riffy, how you doing, man? Nice to see you here in this chat. I saw you just 2 nights ago in XNC. It's nice to see you here. He goes, even if Xbox says they'll keep physical, Sony is still the market leader. I don't think it will matter. Yeah, fair enough. So anyways, I thought it was very interesting to point that whole situation out. And I'm like, wow, look at that. So something happened on the Game Pass side of things, or on Xbox, and that actually was more prevalent when you actually tie it into like the Sony situation, at least for now, because now Sony has basically made their stance talking about their all digital future, right? And I'm sure at some point Microsoft's going to do the same thing. They've been egging it on for like 13 years that they want an all digital future. I mean, I already went through that with you guys. Like, what was it, last week? We talked about it for like 40 minutes. I broke down everything that like Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo have been doing since 2013 to push us out of physical, because they want an all digital future. It's way cheaper for them.
Welcome to hell.
You know what I mean? And we got QMax, a member for 5 months. Yes, thank you so much, QMax. And he comes in and he says, well, there goes ESO, been playing it since day one. So what the fuck happened, guys? Is this like breaking news? Let me know in the chat before I continue on, before we talk about Xbox hardware. If this is breaking news, we'll talk about it a little bit. We'll see if there's anything that was going on. Deceiver ESO is complete garbage. But the thing is, Deceiver's actually, wasn't it making money? Like, my understanding is that ESO was actually helping to push or fund some of the other studios and stuff. Like between ESO and Minecraft and... Well, we know that Minecraft is going to report directly to Asha now. By the way, the Minecraft thing was another thing. Sorry, I wanted to bring that up real quick while people put in the chat. Let me know what happened with this whole ESO thing. Mad Monaghan, no! Ladies and gentlemen, I never actually addressed the man. I know he's been in here all night, but we have to address him now. The man of the cloth, ladies and gentlemen. The man who speaks the word of the Lord. The man who lives in the footsteps of God. Ladies and gentlemen, Father Alex is here. Everybody say hi to Father Alex in the chat. Father Alex is here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Argentina. They're just too good. They're just too good. I know Spain is like basically unstoppable, and it's going to be wild. It's on Twitter, T-Rock is saying. A lot of people reporting it. Thank you so much, QMax, for being a member for 4 months in your member chat. Yeah, he goes, been playing it since day one. Yeah, a lot of people playing it now. The thing is, like the Minecraft thing, by the way, that was another thing that Digital Foundry was talking about, by the way. Is that Digital Foundry was talking about how they don't understand the fundamentals of what, like, Minecraft was, because they're like, oh, they want to turn it into Roblox. And I'm like, because that's been brought up several times. They're like, yeah, we want to turn Minecraft into the new Roblox and whatever else. And they're like, what they didn't get, and this is what John Linneman was talking about in the Digital Foundry thing. He's like, what they don't get is that a lot of these games that actually do take off, they actually never built them to make money specifically. Yes, they obviously need to make money in order to fund their projects, and obviously you're making shit to make a profit. Otherwise, why are you going to work? Because you love it? Get the fuck out of here. I go to work because I love it. When you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Shut the fuck up. You're there for a paycheck, okay? And you know why? Because the thing is, and I was told this a long time ago, because I was super passionate when I was young and in the restaurant business. And I remember the chef who was there is probably about my age now, right? You've been around the block a few times. And he says to me, he goes, oh yeah, you love it, eh? You do it because you love it? You do anything they tell you? Yeah. He goes, if they stop paying you, would you come? I said, no. And he goes, you're here for a fucking paycheck. He says, do your job, do it well. He goes, that's it. You're here for a paycheck. But do your job, do it well. You can love what you're doing. He goes, but don't give them too much. You give them everything, they will take everything, and then they'll leave you with nothing. Sorry, I thought I'd bring that up. Anyway, the point is that Linneman was talking about it, and he's talking about Minecraft, and he's like, Minecraft was built by a couple of guys who were like, we just thought we wanted to make something fun and cool, like a project, like in between projects or whatever, and something happened. And it just turned into something or whatever and became a global phenomenon. Then they built it from there and created an empire. Then Microsoft bought them, which was the smartest thing that Xbox ever did, or Microsoft ever did, was buy them out, and they've been making billions of dollars since, right? Great move by Microsoft. Got to give them that for that one. So Microsoft, huge W for them when it comes to the Minecraft situation, right? Now, when you think about this, then they talked about, then you talk about like Fortnite. Fortnite was never supposed to be a battle royale. Fortnite was supposed to be a game, and then a couple of guys started screwing around saying, hey, we're making this battle royale thing for fun within the world of Fortnite, and we're just doing it for, shits and giggles, whatever, because if you thought it'd be kind of a fun thing just to, like, do around the office or whatever, right? It'd be fun for, like, the staff and all that shit. And then it turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry because they didn't design it to be strictly monetized. They designed it because they were like, well, let's do something and see if it takes off, and if it does, then, we deal with it. And he said they don't understand art. They don't understand, like, the art of it. And that's what they were talking about. And they're like, having Minecraft report directly to Asha will show that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see what I'm getting at? Like, the line of thinking, where it's going. It's like, they're answering directly to her now because that means that she wants to see dollars and cents, doesn't give a fuck about nothing, and wants it to turn into Roblox. He says that's not how these things work, right? So they were talking about that, and that was part, like I said earlier in the show tonight. We were talking about the shredding the shit out of Microsoft, not understanding the fundamentals of the gaming industry or the art form, and looking at it strictly from a business point of view doesn't always equate to success. Right? And that's what they were getting at. And they brought up the Minecraft thing too. So anyways, this ESO thing seems to be a situation. So I didn't see anything about it, but I'm about to look it up now because, well, got no choice now. There it is. Okay, so ZeniMax Online Studios leadership to exit as part of Xbox cuts. Here we go. This includes studio head Joe Burba, ESO executive producer Susan Kath, studio game director Rich Lambert, and production director Ala Diaz. Okay, so you see what they're doing, folks? They're doing these small cuts, like death by 1,000 cuts, like across all these studios. So, and you know the thing is? Here's the thing. Surprisingly, here, listen to this. A rundown of 379 gaming roles eliminated in Maryland last week listed some surprisingly senior job titles. Allow me to repeat that last part again, which will lead credence to what I say is not a conspiracy theory. It is just a corporate calling, but not based on knowledge. Some surprising senior job titles. Let me ask you guys, riddle me this, Batman. Who gets paid the most in companies? Who gets paid the most? Who's afraid of the Piketty Witch? Who's afraid of the Piketty Witch? Who gets paid the most? The senior job title holders. So isn't it strange that a lot of the senior guys at id Software, who are obviously making the most amount of money, also with the most amount of knowledge, were let go, fired, not let go. And then all of a sudden ESO, they fire the senior people working on ZeniMax Online Studios. Isn't that strange? Do you think that maybe they're basing it off of Core AI is telling them, yeah, move all the people that are costing the most amount of money without actually looking into what those people are doing? I'm thinking that might be it, man. There you go. Thank you, Ghost in the Garage. That's exactly it. It's based on income. But here's the thing. The janitor. Hero Down Under. How you doing, buddy? I got a couple Australian songs here for you. That's for you, Hero Down Under, because I don't see Grandpa Barbecue Game Dad here tonight. Magnum is here as well. Actually, janitor's correct with all their overtime. Oh no! You know, they're not going to say anything right now. You know why? Because they're getting paid out, right? So when they get fired from these corporations, they're also paid out to keep their mouths shut. They're like, here, you want your severance? We're going to give you 2 years severance plus a huge bonus. Here's $1 million, whatever, like depending on what position you were in. We're going to give you $1 million plus 2 years salary plus your benefits for the next 2 years, whatever, right? They give you a big, severance package and all that shit. But part of that, the stipulations, which is what happened to me, part of the stipulations of getting a large package, pause, is you can't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And so they can't walk out the front door and be like, man, fuck that, man. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Like, it's not going to happen. And they're not going to say anything because they basically, the corporations, being as scumbaggy and slimy as they are, they buy people's silence. And it works. So Ghost in the Garage is saying it's based on income. Exactly. And the thing is, but did they actually stop and analyze what those people were doing and the importance of those people? That's what Digital Foundry was talking about with id Software. It says you literally got rid of the people who were there during that tiny team that built 2016, and that's why they were able to make Doom 2016 with a tiny team, because those wizards, those guys who basically created that engine and nurtured that engine for decades, you got rid of them. But all you did was base it clearly, most of the senior people, off of their salary sizes to save money, but not realizing the importance of those people. It is a fundamental corporate mistake. Every corporation does it. They don't give a shit because the blind, they'll leave when it comes to like the employees. It's the blind leading the blind, and they don't care as long as they save money. You know what they did at my corporation? We were bought out by an American company. I can't talk about any of the details, obviously. We were bought out by an American company. We owned 35 buildings here in Canada, and then in the United States there were 150 buildings, right? And the 150 buildings sold to an American corporation, and then they came up here, and then they bought our 35 buildings as well. So you know what they did do? This is the insane thing. So now a lot of people, because it had a high employee retention rate, because people loved working for the previous ownership of our corporation. You know what the new guys came in and did? They said everybody who quits or gets fired or whatever, all those jobs will be replaced at minimum wage. Can you fucking believe that? And people were making a lot more than minimum wage. And not just because of their tenure. Like, oh, this person's been here for 10 years, 15 years, 25 years in one case. You know what I mean? Like, people have been there for a long time. I was there for 14 years. And so, like, all these positions or whatever. And it says, yeah, when they leave, you replace all those workers with minimum wage workers. So what do you think happened? And I said, absolutely not. This is bullshit. No, we can't do this. And they're like, well, why? It says, our analytics say you do that, we save X amount of dollars over the years. And I'm like, yeah. I said, but you realize what's going to happen 2 generations down the road? And I don't mean generations. When I say generations, I mean when a person either quits or gets fired, I call that one generation. Then someone else takes their place. When someone else either quits or gets fired, that position, then I count that as another generation. So you hire a third person for the same spot. We call that 3 generations of workers, right? I said, you guys realize what's going to happen 3 generations down? I said, when you keep hiring minimum wage people, they're going to know less and less, be skilled less and less, have less and less experiences. And said, by the time you get to that third person, you are literally having a person with no skill and no knowledge training a person with no skill and no knowledge, and then that no knowledge gets passed down to the next person. And I said, by the time you get to the third generation, nobody will know what the fuck they're doing. And guess what? Fast forward to today, I'm 100% correct. Because I still have my eyes and ears all over that corporation, and they tell me, they said, Mag, of course they don't call me Mag. They're like, Mag, they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. He says, not only do they not know what they're doing, nobody is trained, nobody has skill or experience, nobody has any knowledge of what they're doing. Some of them are pulling out handbooks in the middle of the workday to try and figure out what they're supposed to be doing. But they're all getting paid minimum wage now. See what I'm saying?
It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan.
And so by not researching what's happening here, and you're getting rid of the senior people who are making the magic happen, who are the people who have the institutional knowledge, the people who know what's going on, you're getting rid of them? Again, Linneman and the other guys there at Digital Foundry saying the reason why Doom 2016 with a team that is the size of the team that they've got now, they were able to do that because the people you had there, you just fired. Those are the people with the knowledge. Those are the people with the experience. Those are the people who know all the nuances of the tech, of the engine, and how to tweak and squeeze every ounce out of this thing. Now you just fired the whole senior staff of ESO, or ZeniMax Online Studios. 379 jobs, gaming roles eliminated, most of them, surprisingly, senior job titles, of course, with the ones that I've already previously mentioned. Again, the studio head, the ESO executive producer, the studio game director, and the production director were all fired. What in the absolute fuck are they doing? Now, I got a question. But before I have a question, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna go grab some water, and I'll be right back. All right, just give me 1 second, guys. All right, I'm back. So here's the thing, folks. How comfortable would you feel working at Xbox right now? This is something I'm going to talk about in my video tomorrow when I make my video tomorrow morning. How comfortable would you feel working over there? Wouldn't you be scared shitless? I mean, like if you don't have like plans set up or whatever, I'd be looking for other work. I'll tell you that right now. I wouldn't leave, but I'd be looking for other work. You know, when the monkey swings on the vines, they don't let go of the other vine until they got a firm grasp on another one. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like how girls are. You know, when they dump your ass, they didn't dump your ass to be single. Trust me, there's a dude in the wings, all right? Like I said, they don't let go of the vine in the backhand until they already got a firm grasp of the vine in front of them. So anyways, the thing is, how comfortable would you feel? And the other thing is, now think about that. I'll go into detail about that in my video tomorrow. But how about this? Never mind just how comfortable you feel working on something now. How's the morale? You're in the office and like all of a sudden half your buddies just got fired. Then you go to the other office, half your buddies got fired or whatever else. That's going to kill morale. And then now they're cracking down saying you guys need to produce. So not only your morale breaking as you're seeing like your team's getting broken up and this and that, leadership basically saying, sayonara, motherfuckers, and they're out the door taking their bags and everybody's running for the hills. How would you feel? I'd be like, what the fuck is going on in here? I feel like I'm just like kind of carrying on with my own life with my little cup of tea with the house burning around me going, it's fine. I'd be scared shitless if I didn't have something lined up. It's your livelihood at stake, right? And then you got upper management crunching down on you saying, perform. Meanwhile, you know, you're seeing half your teams disappearing, whatever else, for various reasons, guys. I'm not going to say that, you know, they were all doing a good job and this and that. I'm not going to say all that shit. Because not all of them were. And there's a lot of bloat. We know how that works. You know, there's a lot of bloat with these corporations. You got to trim that shit up too. I do get some of that, but I'm just talking about from that angle specifically. I'm talking about how would your morale feel? Now, the other thing is, think about this. How are you going to attract? Magnum, what the fuck are you even talking about, bro? He says, Mag, stop fear-mongering. What do you mean fear-mongering? If you went into work, Magnum, and 65% of your staff got fired in front of your face, and they look at you and they go, all right, Magnum, start producing. You're telling me that's fear-mongering, bro? The fuck out of here. What are you talking about?
Your fucking words don't ever go over my fucking head again, you motherfucker, you.
But seriously, I know I'm just fucking around, but like seriously, Magnum, think about that for a second. That's not fear-mongering at all. That's facts. How would you feel? Wouldn't you be scared shitless? I'd be like, what the fuck? All of a sudden you're at McDonald's and you're the only one making the Big Macs because like they let go everybody else and they're like, it's you and one guy on the fryer. And they're like, perform. And you report to me directly. I'd be like, what happened? You know what I mean? But anyways, whatever. I'm just talking about from their point of view. I'm not talking about from the other point of view. People taking the 2-hour lunches, taking pictures of their Niçoise salads, and putting them on Instagram instead of working. You've got Eastern studios that are blowing you out of the water by releasing 3 times the amount of product at better quality with less bugs. Like, you know, because their work ethic in the Asian countries are far better than they are in the Western countries. That's a fact. You know, we look at that. Yeah, okay, they might be working and sleeping under the tables. I'm not condoning any of that shit. But at the same time, they're performing with less people and better quality. Look at this year already. The Asian domination with Capcom, Crimson Desert. You know what I mean? And it's not over. Anyways, whatever. I don't want to get into all that talk. The other thing I was going to say, it's just thought-provoking, folks. I'm just trying to provoke thought. I'm not trying to will things into the universe, and I'm not trying to persuade you. I'm just telling you this is something to sit back and like meditate, think about it. Now, I want you to think about one more thing before I move on to the last little tail end thing I wanted to talk about real quick. I just want to address it really about Xbox hardware in terms of Helix and projected prices. Not projected prices, in projected sales. We'll talk about that just for a few minutes at the end here. However, I was going to say something else. Think about this for 2 seconds. How are you going to attract new talent? How are you going to get new talent to come in there? Like, you know, because, you know, eventually people quit, whatever, this and that. You might need extra staff here for a project at some point down the road. You know what I'm saying? Would you attract the best talent in the gaming development industry? Probably not. Who the fuck would go work there? When you see an Armageddon every 2 years of layoffs and this and that or whatever, and even people releasing quality software like id Software just did, and then you gut the studio and whatever else, would you go work there? Would you even apply there? Unless you're totally desperate. But I mean, like, if you were like super talented and you were about to go onto the market, so to speak, Would you go out? Would you go there? I wouldn't even touch my Xbox with a 10-foot pull-up. You get the fuck? I'm not fucking going over there. I said I could release the best DLC that Xbox has seen in that entire generation and then get fucking fired the next day. That's something to think about. It's not about, thank you very much, El Nini. Wow, I thought ESO was making money. It is. Exactly, Hadouken. No one. If you were getting a job at Home Depot, you wanted to work. You're a Home Depot expert, okay? You're a home hardware expert, and Home Depot's there, and they're like, yeah. So what's the deal with Home Depot? I want to go over there. You know, they got a bunch of stuff going on. They're like, oh yeah, well, even if you perform really well, you still might get fired. Usually every 2 years, they do a bunch of firings. They shave down teams. If you have a senior position and whatever, and you're making more money than everybody else, they'll probably fire you anyway to save money. And I'd be like, oh, nope, no thanks. What's up, Great Wall? How you doing, man? Be like, no thanks. I'll go work at Home Hardware or whatever. I'll go work at Rona. So who are you attracting for the future? That's what I'm talking about. You're not attracting nobody to the future because who the hell would go there? You'd be insane to go there. That's the way I see it. I don't know. Like I said, just some food for thought, folks. Now, one last thing I want to talk about real quick. I wanted to address that there was some stuff going on today. I think it showed up today talking about, or was it yesterday, talking about projected hardware sales for Xbox. Xbox Helix very specifically. And it was about how... I can't remember who said it, man. I'll find it. Just give me 5 seconds. I had it in front of me, and then I totally bloody well forgot. Here it is. I found it. Yeah, there was an analyst that was talking about it and saying that Xbox Helix may only sell 2 million consoles in its launch year, says analyst. Now, the thing is, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know what's going to happen there in terms of hardware. Hey, Top Gamer Pro comes in, drops a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Top Gamer Pro. Appreciate you, brother. And he says, job security can disappear anywhere. Yes, it can. But at the monumental rate that it happens at Xbox, would you go there? Or would you take the lesser of two evils? That's what I'm trying to say. Or lesser of 3 evils or 4 evils, whatever. But if you're looking at that corporation specifically and seeing the number of layoffs going on over there, I would not go near there. And especially, like I said, with Doom, and that's why I'm going to keep a very keen eye, Top Gamer. I'm going to keep a very keen eye on what's going on with Gears of War. Because if Gears of War doesn't perform, and I don't think it will because a lot of people are going to consume in Game Pass, I think it'll do well, but I don't know what their internal metrics or what they're expecting from Gears of War E-Day. But I hope they hit it. Because if they don't hit it, I'd be afraid for Coalition 2. They're not going to close the damn studio. It's not going to happen. But I mean, all of a sudden, you never know. They might start shaving people off there too. And that doesn't help morale of that studio. They're like, we just banged out this huge game. It's a banger of a game, AAA, great Metacritic score, and we still got shaved down because we didn't hit sales expectations because a lot of people consumed on Game Pass. Which I think they will because... like I said, 2 weeks later is Call of Duty, and you got to buy Call of Duty. It's not in Game Pass. We talked about that earlier. Anyways, let's get back to this Xbox Helix hardware situation. 2 million seems a bit low for the first year. However, as more and more people seem to be migrating, on the Xbox side of things, seem to be migrating to PCs, and less people are buying Xbox hardware, plus a lot of people actually just bought some Xbox hardware this year. Not a whole lot, but still did. I could see people. My personal feeling is I think it'll be higher than 2 million. I think 2 million is a little low. It'll be higher than 2 million is my guess, but I don't think it's that far off when you think about it. I mean, when Asha Sharma herself said that the hardware components next fall, she literally said it, in fall of 2027 will be 5 times the price it is now. Thank you so much, Top Gamer Pro, for the super chat. Appreciate you, brother. If she says that in the fall of 2027, the components are going to be 5 times the price they were since the fall of 2025, she's either telling you one of two things. She's either A, going to delay it out of 27, which I'm not thinking they will anymore, because what's the point? What are you going to do? You're going to delay it in 2028, and it's still going to be expensive. So what's the point? You might as well get it out the door. Or it's going to be really expensive. Actually, there's a third option. The third option is there were rumblings about this, how they're going to retool the Helix and make it not as powerful and make it more affordable. And make it more like a console. So you can forget about, direct access to Steam and shit like that or whatever, as they were originally the pipe dreams of what this thing was going to be. They may change that too. We do not know the answer to that. We will have to wait and see. However, those are the three options that they have. So I'm starting to think, man, at those prices, at diminishing adopters of the Xbox as it is, and then anybody else who's left there will stay there. A lot of people will keep their Series X's. I'll tell you that right now. Series X's and S's will be supported for several years because people will stay there. More people will also access the cloud because the cloud is going to be a situation as well. By the way, I wanted to actually, someone sent me something about the cloud. I had to read it. God damn it. Where the hell was it? Here we go. This came from Sam. He sent me a DM. He says, I just finished playing about 10 minutes of Gears 5 Smart TV Cloud gaming horde mode, and latency was so bad, even though he has fiber optic internet. He goes, it seems like I have to play it on a console, but wondering if those play a Series X eventually. Okay, yes. So he's basically saying, can you share the resolution in FPS? Oh, no. So he was asking me a question, but he was saying it was really bad and he has fiber optic internet. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty wild. But it's still going to be an accessibility point for a lot of people who simply can't afford it. Right? So I think a lot of people are going to keep those Series X's, Series S's, because there's way more Series S's than X's out there. And then if you're going to be charging anywhere, I don't know, between $1,000 and $1,500 or even more for a Helix, let's say, if they decide to keep the specs the way they originally had planned to do, which I'm starting to think they won't. I think they're going to dial it back, and they're certainly going to dial back on the hard drive sizes. Similar to how they did the ROG Xbox Ally, how they did the Steam machine. You know what I mean? Different tiers based on storage. 550 gigs, SSD, or 500 gig SSD. 1 terabyte SSD, 2 terabyte SSD, which I don't think they're going to even off. I don't even think they're going to offer a 2 terabyte SSD. To be quite honest, because it'll be way too expensive. So I think it'll be between a 500 gig and a 1 terabyte. 1 terabyte hard drives, whatever, and then they'll have pricing options. But it's still going to be, I think, if like I said, she's saying itself, the components will be 5 times the price by then, and they don't have the purchasing power that someone like, for example, Sony does, because Sony manufactures their own parts. Right? They've been doing that forever. Sony's a hardware company. Microsoft is a software company. That's their strength, is the software. I mean, it's software and services, whatever. That's what they do as a company. Sony's a hardware company. Right? So anyways, the point is this. If it's going to be all that expensive, then yeah, I could see it being, I think it'll be more than $2 million because I think you'll still have a lot of people adopting day one, especially the hardcore. And there's still a lot of hardcore out there. I mean, you still got 30 million plus consoles out in the wild of the series consoles. That's not great by any means. That's half of the install base of the Xbox One generation, for God's sake. So diminishing returns for 3 generations, not great. Right? Usually when you have a bad generation, or not a bad generation, I think Xbox One was actually not that bad of a generation in the end. In the end, they still ended up with 65 million consoles out there, so not too bad. But then losing half of that for the next one, that's not great. So now, also, I did report this last year when they were talking about it in the town hall meeting. This is when Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond were still there, so maybe things have changed. Obviously, they changed. But their internal projections at a town hall meeting, which they literally said to their, mid-level management and upper management, whenever they had a town hall between them, not the staff. And their internal projections for the generation were 10 million. That was for the whole generation. Because they expect it to be a very expensive, curated experience. And judging by what Asha's talking about, that the components will even be 5 times the price by the time fall 2027 comes around, then yeah, this thing is still going to remain, regardless of how much power, how much storage they put in it. It's still going to be a very expensive curated experience, which is going to be for a select group of people. Right? I'll have one. I'll trade in. I got 2 Series X's and an S. I have no problem getting rid of those. I could sell those for $700, the 3 consoles. And then almost half of a Helix, or maybe a third Canadian, I guess, in Canadian prices. A third of it is already paid, or maybe even a half of it's already paid for me. And plus, this is what I do, man. I mean, I'm a YouTuber. This is what I do. So I will have one here. I'll do an unboxing right here on the channel. That's what I do. I will be playing it. I'll be streaming on it so that I can show the audience, show my friends, my fans, whatever, and say, hey guys, we're gonna be streaming this game tonight on the Helix. Whatever, blah blah blah. I'm buying PS6 day one. I'll be unboxing that on the channel. I'll be playing it here day one. We'll be streaming with it. Whatever, right? That's what I do. But I'm not an average consumer. This is my job. So therefore, being my job, and obviously it's my passion. I mean, let's not get silly. It's my passion. But I'm just saying it's my job too. So part of that is like Colt Eastwood's going to get a Helix day one. He's going to get a PS6. I don't know when. I don't know if he's going to get it day one, but I mean, I'll get both day one. So anyway, the point is, we're not the demographic though. Right? You're going to get the hardcore, so I still think they'll sell a couple of million out the gate, to be quite honest. You'll still sell a million to 2 million right out the gate. But to say 2 million in 1 year, I think that's far too low. Far, far too low. I think, okay, if I were to guess, I would say double that in the first year. I would say closer to 4 million in the first year. I may be 100% wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think it might be 4 million in the first year. But it also depends on the price. So we have to wait. We can guess all day long, folks. In the chat, you could say, 6 months, or it's never going to hit 2 million, or it's going to hit 5 million. We can spout out numbers all day long, but until we have a price, then we can make an educated guess. Because I can tell you right now, if it's $1,500 and above, that 2 million might ring true. Because a lot of people don't have a lot of money right now, man. People are struggling to put food on their table. They're struggling to pay their mortgages, their bills. They can't even afford to go to the grocery store, never mind a restaurant. You know what I mean? All that kind of shit. What's up, Raven Gaming? How you doing, man? Pat Smith, how are you? Holy shit, really? Anybody who wants to play it, by the way, Pat Smith in the chat saying Final Fantasy VII Integrate Remake, $18 Canadian on the Xbox store. That's a hell of a deal, folks. If you haven't, thank you, Pat Smith. If you haven't got it and you're an Xbox gamer, go pick that up now. $18 Canadian. That's like $12 US, man. That's ridiculously cheap. Unbelievable. And we got Green Pulse Wire coming in, dropping a $5 super chat. Let's go! Yeah! Thank you so much, Green Pulse Wire, and I'm glad you got that Series X25 gift that came your way from the little the giveaway that I did on the channel. Congratulations to that. And he says, for $5 US, thank you so much, Green Pulse. And he says, I play Xbox Cloud a ton on my XAS and phone with the MCon, and it's great. All right, that's good to hear. So we had one bad experience, one great experience. He goes, I've tried it on my Fire Cube on the TV, and it was doo-doo. All right, so basically, Green Pulse, thank you so much, Green Pulse. I appreciate you, man. Yes, thank you for that, my friend. I appreciate that. So basically, I think it has to do with what kind of hardware you're running it on. You know what I'm saying? Beast Mode, how you doing, brother? And we've got James Black coming in, dropping a $5 super chat as well. Let's go, James Black. Let's go. Thank you so much, James Black. Appreciate that, my friend. And for $5 US, he says, what's the point of exclusives to sell 10 million consoles, especially when most of your studios make a bunch of mid-flops? Well, yeah, those studios no longer exist there, right? Thank you so much, James Black. I appreciate the $5 super chat, my friend. But we will talk about that right now. I will address that. Their point at this point, I'm not really sure about this exclusives thing. I know that there've been some rumblings about it. Some people saying, well, they're thinking about more exclusives. I don't think they're thinking about it right now. I think what they're doing is they're waiting for Gears of War E-Day and they're waiting for Clockwork Revolution. When they have those two games of two different demographics and two different styles of games, and they look at the sales of those, then they will be making decisions about the future. But I do not think they're going to greenlight any more exclusives until Gears of War E-Day comes out. There's no chance. There's no chance. They're not going to be like, yeah, Elder Scrolls 6 exclusive. They're not going to do that until they get metrics because, like I said, Asha Sharma works on metrics, analytics, and core AI numbers. Okay? That's how they're looking at these things. Gears of War E-Day has not even dropped yet. You don't think they're looking at Halo 2? I mean, I know this is not a mainline. I mean, it's a mainline Halo game, but I mean, it's a remake of it's a remake of the original game, right? Not the same thing. If this was Halo 7 and it was coming out day one on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, whatever, then they would say, okay, let's use this third-party one and see how it does, and then let's take a look at the exclusive one. Because you don't think they're doing that right now. That's what they're waiting for. They want to see how Halo performs as a multi-plat. They want to see how Gears performs as an exclusive. This is an experiment. I don't think they did it to make people happy. I think they did it because it's an experiment. I mean, they might have done it. They do it to make people happy because they want to keep the main fan base, obviously, to appease the main fan base. But I still think that a lot of this has to do that this is an experiment. And they're going to put Halo in, they're going to take Core AI there, and they're going to put the Halo metrics as a multi-plat into the Core AI, and they're going to take the Gears of War metrics as an exclusive and put into Core AI, and then Core AI is going to sit there and go, thinking, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, 9 seconds, and then it's going to say, this is what happened with this many installs, this many consoles out in the wild, this install base plus this install base. We had this performance with the multiplat on the exclusive side with Game Pass. We had this kind of performance on Gears of War. That's what they're going to base it on. I'm telling you right now. That's what they're going to base it on. I hope that answered the question for you, James Black. So that's what I'm thinking is happening. Itchy's Veta comes in, drops a $1 super chat and says nothing. He says nothing. Snow Dragons in the house. Cyber Gunter, Sages, how you guys doing out there? I hope you guys are doing well. Nate Dogg's in the house. Grumpy Old Fart comes in, drops a $5 super chat. Let's go, Grumpy Old Fart. That's my friend. That is my friend. And Grumpy Old Fart says, Mag, call your wife live on the air and ask if she'd rather play Blood of the Dawnwalker or Dying Like the Beast. Really? You want me to call her live on the air? This is how we're ending the show tonight, folks. Listen to this. She better not say something sexy. Will she answer a goddamn phone? We're like in the same house. Stone Rambo, how you doing? She's not answering her phone. I swear to God, I think she's like 2 rooms over from me. Although, mind you, she might be exercising. Hey, Walt Diggity, how you doing, man? She might be exercising, Grumpy Old Fart. We're going to have to see. We're going to see how this drama plays out, folks. Anyway, those are my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, about the entire situation when it comes to the hardware. I think it will sell more than 2 million because I think that they're not considering the fact that right out of the gate, when you've got, like, for example, in the Xbox community, you've got, like, your 85% casual, you got your 15% hardcore. Of that 15% hardcore, I still think that 5 to 10% of that hardcore is what I would call the extreme hardcore. It's like that next tier of hardcore, right? And they will buy it. And I think that percentage of a percentage of the hardcore is still enough to carry at least more than 2 million in the first year. Easily. And that's assuming that they have the stock for it, which I think they might. But we're going to have to wait and see. That's the other thing. The analytics of that situation might not be like as like some people are interpreting it as oh, he just hates Xbox. No, he might actually just be saying because they may not have the fucking components to make the goddamn thing to make 2 million in the first year. You see what I'm saying? So that's a possibility too. Some people have to think about that as well. Some people have to remember that he might have been angling it in that direction, not as something nefarious against Xbox. It could have been just something as simple as, well, they may not be able to get all the components and the RAM and the whatever else and all the other parts to build this console. They may not be able to make more than 2 million in the first year. On top of the steep price tag, they may just not have the ability to produce that many. So that might be an angle too. So it might not be because, everybody's knee-jerk reaction is, he's a pony, he hates Xbox or whatever. I'm like, he may not be actually meaning that. He actually just may be meaning they may not be able to physically make the goddamn thing. Grumpy Old Fire, we're going to get back to that in a minute, man. That thing is not done. And we got Falcon coming in, dropping a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Falcon. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, Falcon. I appreciate that. And for $5, he says, do you honestly think that Xbox don't have enough data to make the exclusive decision by now? No, I don't, Falcon, because they're waiting. I appreciate the $5 super chat, brother. I appreciate all of that. Because they're waiting for Gears of War. Because Gears of War is the first mainline big-time title that they have made console exclusive in quite some time. I'm telling you, Gears of War is not an E-Day, it's a D-Day for them. It is the day where they're going to decide what's going to happen with the future. Thank you so much, Itchy. Thank you for stopping by and appreciate the super chat, brother. James Black, he says, now he just did that to shit on Xbox. He might have, James Black. He might have. You never know. I mean, there is a portion, like I know when people talk about Xbox tax, there is a portion of Xbox tax that does exist, because I don't think it's lost on people now that when you do a negative Xbox video or an article or whatever, people will either come to that article or video to either agree with you and laugh at Xbox, or you're going to have Xbox defense come in and start fucking railing on them, and then it starts a big war and it gets a ton of engagement, and so they know it's going to happen. So a lot of these articles are very antagonistic on purpose because they know it gets a lot of traffic, and a lot of traffic makes you a lot of money. You see what I'm saying?
It's all part of the plan.
That's what I'm getting at. It's all part of the plan. Now, do I apply that to all of Xbox, being like everything Xbox does or is Xbox tax? No. I would say 90% of what Xbox does is self-inflicted gunshot wounds. They do it to themselves. We all know it. They step on a rake every month. One good news, one rake. One good news, one rake. You know what I mean? And on and on and on and on. And that's what, that's just what happens too. So you can't blame everything on an Xbox tax. But I will concede that I would say 10% of it absolutely is an Xbox tax for antagonistic purposes in order to make more money. Because it brings more traffic. However, this PlayStation thing right now, do I have to pull out a PlayStation tax now? Because now the PlayStation's getting shit on pretty regularly about this whole digital thing. Now people are just putting up articles there just to get the engagement because people are fighting about it. However, something interesting has happened though, and I did notice this, and I did mention this in my video yesterday, is that a lot of that traffic is dying off. So it started off at like 150 million views, goes down to 50 million, down to 1 million, down to 50,000, down to 10,000, down to 8,000. And whatever. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what ends up happening. The engagement on that's going down. However, then you could say, well, there's a bit of a PlayStation tax because, I mean, for a while there, people were capitalizing the shit out of that. Even if they were just being performative, they were getting a ton of traffic, ton of clicks, tons of likes, tons of views, tons of whatever, tons of hate, tons of love, whatever. And then what ends up happening is they make a lot of money off of it. So the door swings both ways. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I'm going to try and call my wife again. See if she's answered the phone. I swear to God. She doesn't answer the phone, I'm going to freak out, eh? Answer the phone! I don't even know where she is. She's somewhere in this house.
Hello?
Huh? Hey, she's up. Ladies and gentlemen, we have my wife. She's live in the air. Honey, don't say anything like weird or gross, okay? I'll be like, I can't wait to massage your toes after. Listen, you're on the air right now. Grumpy Old Fart dropped a super chat, and he had to ask you a question.
I didn't do it.
No, I know you didn't do it. And he says, Mag, call your wife live on the air and ask her if she'd rather play Blood of the Dawnwalker or Dying Light the Beast. Blood of the Dawnwalker is like an action adventure sort of Assassin's Creed kind of game, but you play as a vampire.
Ooh.
And he asked you if you wanted to try one of the two. However, you didn't answer the phone right away, but he made the decision for you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Grumpy Old Fart has dropped $160 in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, of $160 super chat. Unbelievable. And Grumpy Old Fart has donated $160 to the channel, saying, "Blood of the Dawnwalker, for me, lady, it is." Ladies and gentlemen, live on the air. All right, honey, you just got gifted Blood of the Dawnwalker, courtesy of Grumpy Old Fart. Say thank you live in the air.
Thank you very much for
There
I
you-
look forward to being a vampire.
There you go. Thank you so much. Grumpy Old Fart, the craziest man on YouTube. Thank you, honey. I'll see you in a few minutes. There you go. You guys got my wife live on the air. And Grumpy Old Fart, thank you for the insane donation. And by the way, I just like to point something out as before, actually, I'll get back to that in a second. James Black comes in, drops a $2 super chat as well. I think he wants me to call my wife as well. That's right, James Black. James Black, James Black, James Black. And for $2 US, he says, "What about the mag tax?" Of course it's a mag tax. Team leader, he goes, "Wow, what is your secret, mag?" Oh, dude, she games 7 days a week, man. She games 7 days a week, bro. She's like ridiculous with her gaming, man. Oh, largest super chats. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, James Black, mag tax, there is one, because every time I say something, I get shit on it, and then it comes true, and then nobody comes back to apologize to me. So there is a mag tax, absolutely 100%. Oh, sorry, team leader. I thought we said, "What is your secret, Mag?" I thought you were talking about my wife. No, he was talking about the super chat sent by Grumpy Old Fart, the most insane man on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, I did say this, as Grumpy Old Fart, and Grumpy Old Fart has been such a huge supporter of the channel, as you all have been. But he has donated, almost about, I would say about 90% of the games that we play here on the channel and stream on the channel is courtesy of Grumpy Old Fart, who donates the games to the channel and to the family. It is absolutely unreal. Now, the thing is that I'm starting very soon, maybe this week, maybe next week. I just have to iron out a few more details. I've got all the designs already, whatever else. I'm opening up the Mag Shop. It's coming, and the Mag Swag is on the way, ladies and gentlemen. Mag Swag is on the way. And I just wanted to do it as an honor to Grumpy Old Fart himself. Like I said, being such a legendary supporter, I am going to actually be sending him the first design t-shirt from the Mag Swag shop, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming to him courtesy of myself and my family as a thank you for everything that he has done for the channel. And so he will be getting the honorary first designed t-shirt from the Mag Swag shop, which will be open at some point in the next week or so. I'm hoping to get it off the ground sooner rather than later. And then, of course, when you come to the channel, very much like Colt Eastwood's channel, you can see the storefront. And then if you want any of the Mag Swag, it'll all be right there. So, yes, so that's what I'm doing. So, Mags, Grumpy Old Fart will be getting the first honorary shirt from me and from my wife and family as a thank you for all the support to the channel. And, of course, all the donations and all the game donations to the channel as well, including tonight, Dawn of the Bloodwalker. Let's go! Oh, thank you. Wow. AKL Warrior, how you doing, man? No, nobody took back any words, AKL. Nobody took back any words, even though 90% of it has now come to fruition. But anyway, that's the way it goes, brother. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I know, have a shirt with Mag's face on it. I know Infernal Earth, I know that sounds terrifying, but I'm working on these designs and they're pretty funny, man. But I finally figured out one that I'm going to be sending to Grumpy Old Fart. I'll send him the prototype one. And will it ship to New Zealand? Oh my God, that would be a hell of a trip, but we'll have to find out. I'll find out when I set up the shop, man. But I just finished working out the designs and stuff. I think they're pretty funny shirts, man. So hopefully be on out in sale by August. I should have these things for sale by then, yeah. Yeah, we will see, man. We'll see. Hey, Aero Nation, how you doing, man? Oh, and by the way, Cruxton, how you doing? I just wanted to point out, Ion Storm in the chat earlier said that he has just crossed. He just wanted to thank us that he has actually crossed, ladies and gentlemen, 30,000 views on his channel. Go sub to that man immediately and go congratulate him. And he just wanted to thank us in the community for all the support of getting him there. There it is. Congratulations, Iron Storm, man. Really appreciate you, and I'm glad that it's moving in the right direction, man. A lot of hard work will always pay off, my friend. And anyways, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we will call it an evening. It was a great show tonight. Had a good time. And remember, everything that we talk about here, it's to provoke some thought. Not to get angry and anything else like that. Is to have some fun and think about some of the things. Now, some of the topics are not fun, obviously. But they're things that need to be talked about. And that's what we do here. So anyways, keep it clean, keep it nice. Well, you don't have to keep it clean, but definitely try to keep it nice, folks. And thank you guys all for everything tonight. And thank you guys all for the donations. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and all that jazz. And we will see you. I'm going to drop a video tomorrow at some point, and we will see you all again for Friday Night Live. And I think what we're going to be doing is just for a couple of jokes, I think it'd be kind of funny. We're going to start with Black Ops 1 campaign this Friday because it launched on the PlayStation. I thought that'd be kind of funny, and it'll piss somebody off for sure. So this Friday Night Live for the game streaming, we will play Black Ops 1 campaign. So hope to see you guys all there. And like I said, I'll be dropping a video tomorrow. So anyways, everyone have yourself a wonderful night. Stay magnificent, and we'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye now.